What's up, everybody? Back at it with another one. Uh, Appreciate everybody showing up in in the comments. Shout out to one of our sponsors being the first person in. What's up, Fry? Appreciate you, brother. Here with our special guest. I'll let him introduce himself.
How you guys doing today? This is Randy Pegues. I don't have any business name or anything like that. This is a passion for me.
I love it, man. I was checking out some of your posts and stuff, and I
Mhm.
love like some of the photos you have are like just out of this world, like super crisp photos.
Mhm.
Do you use your phone or do you actually like use a camera?
No, I use my buddy because, like I said, I'm computer illiterate, and he's not into snakes, but he loves taking macro shots. So I was like, dude,
Okay.
I suck at that, so I'm not gonna try to take credit for his work, man. He's amazing. He comes over here and just does his thing. He takes pictures for my business too, so he kind of just does it, for fun.
Man, I'm gonna have to fly him out to Arizona, help me take some awesome shots, or teach me, man, because
Yeah, no,
I want to get to that point.
yeah, because what him and I used to do like saltwater reef keeping and stuff, and so the zoas and the acans and stuff, they're super small, and to get the detail, you really have to use those macro shots and different filters. So he's been well versed before he started with the snakes.
That is actually really cool. So I didn't know that you work with Reef. That's actually really cool.
Oh, I used to, man. I kind of hung that hat up a while ago because I was just tired of sticking my hand in that tank every day. But I'm a glutton for punishment, so I have like a fully planted 75-gallon aquascaped freshwater tank right now.
What up, Chuck? Appreciate you, bro.
What's up, Chuck? How you doing, man?
No, that's pretty cool. Yeah, we used to keep a lot of different fish. I used to keep like Oscars. I had like a whole pond for aggressive
Hmm.
fish. And then I never moved into saltwater. I always really wanted to, but I've never really like made that jump into it because I want aggressive. So I want like lionfish. My
Right.
wife over here wants puffer fish.
Hmm.
Um, and the way we kind of settled was she wants a puffer fish and I want stingrays and
Hmm.
eels. That's about it. I was like, if I can have stingrays and eels, I'm golden. That's all I want. I was like,
Yeah, I mean, you can
I'll
just
settle off the lionfish.
well, you can do freshwater if you wanted to just go stingrays or even some
So
eels too.
I wanted to do so freshwater eels. I had a bunch of those. I had some morays and I had some fire eels. But the issue
Hmm.
that I ran into with the stingrays is we can't have freshwater stingrays in Arizona. We can
Oh,
only
really?
have we can only have saltwater because there was an
Okay.
issue where I think it was back in 2000 or 2010 between that range. Somebody released a freshwater stingray in Lake Pleasant,
Oh my gosh.
and so they completely banned it. You can only have them with permits, and that's if you have a zoological permit. They didn't even let you have it
Hmm.
for educational permit. So it has to be saltwater because we're landlocked. So all we have is fresh out here. We're nowhere near the ocean. So they're like, you know what? You go ahead. You can have a saltwater. Ain't gonna be able to thrive anywhere out here. So you're good to go.
Hmm.
Um, you want it out or what? What are you gonna do? You can go crawl around. Go ahead.
I love Savannah monitors.
Hey, this is my big boy. He's a freaking nut, but the fans
Hmm.
love him because he's obsessed with night crawlers.
Nice.
That dude, it's like crack for him. He will
Uh
legitimately do backflips for him. Like,
huh.
so like a lot of like the major issues with savannas is like people just kind of put stuff on a plate and then just put it in there
No,
and let them eat it, so
no,
they get like super fat and they don't chase their food.
no.
And so what I do is I make him work for it. So I'll run it all the way down here and run it
Hmm.
back, and he's jumping up for it and everything. And then I do a lot of enrichment. I'll put some worms in a box, and I'll watch him tear the box apart. So I let
Hmm.
him grow his nails out a little bit, and man, I pay for it when I put him on me because he
Yeah.
cuts me up pretty good.
No, I
Uh,
actually I've had Savannah monitors for a long time. Probably like 2010 or something like that. I got my first one, and like you said, like most people did, is they kept it the wrong way.
yep.
I kept it absolutely the wrong way, and I kind of like did a jump where I got rid of all my reptiles and then got back in. And when I did that, I sold him, But I got Savannah monitors recently. I would say like 2018.
Nice.
I got a pair of them, and I raised them up. They're I was really lucky that they were male and female. I built a huge cage in my garage, and I still have the cage now. The female, I raised her up nice and slow. She was just strictly on insects, and I feed her quail. The male got big fast, but he was still probably 24 inches. He wasn't that big. And then the female, I would say she was only like 18 inches. She was pretty small, but they were both like between 3 and 4 years old at that time that I introduced them together. Created like a 8-foot cage with a 2-foot depth of dirt for them. So everything was like, I was really trying to breed them because I know there's not a lot of people that do that, so I really wanted to try to give it a go. I like a challenge. And so that was something I was interested in. I was reaching out to Jay over at JLCL Reptiles, and he's like one of the only guys in the state that's actually breeds them.
I've successfully done it twice with Savannahs, but I kept 1 male to 4 females. I thought it was all females, but they were all dropped off on me because somebody got out of trying to breed them, and this guy took them all in and didn't know what he was doing, and ended up dropping them off here with 2 Nile monitors. So dropped off 7 monitors total in 1 day. And then 3 days after, the rest of the Nile monitors that guy was getting rid of ended up coming over here too because they couldn't keep them.
Niles
the one lady
cool,
got lady got 16 stitches because it bit her right in the forearm.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, what did you think was gonna happen? Like, she's like, oh, what I was trying to do was, I guess the story was she was trying to pull what she's seen online, where you let it on the floor and chase the food up the person.
Right.
And it ran up her, and she moved this arm while the food was in the right hand and latched right onto the arm and death rolled right off of her.
Wow.
And so he completely just tore. I was like, oh.
You can see the white flesh in there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, she showed me pictures because I'm that guy. I'm like, I want to look at that.
Monitors are brutal, man. And that pair of Savannah monitors, they were breeding. I cycled them twice, and I got them breeding. Was it last year? Yeah, last year I got them breeding in March. And so I was talking to Jay about it, and he was kind of coaching me through. He's like, dude, you should see eggs. We didn't see eggs. And then, this summer, actually, we went to the zoo and we came back, and the female killed the male. So I don't know what happened. They were housed together that whole time and everything was fine. But I came home and he had this like crushed side of his face, and he was upside down, just kind of gasping for air. And, so
that sounds like that sounds like she got territorial and slammed him.
And so I just sent the female over to Jay, and I said, I know you're doing things over there. There's no way I can add another male to her cage ever. If she just did this to the one that she's been comfortable with for, almost 2 years.
You're right.
So she's over there, hopefully doing some work for him.
Yeah. See, so I breed mangroves for the most part.
Nice.
And I'm from my understanding, I'm only like one of 10 or 12 people in the U.S. that has successfully been able to do it. And I learned from Kai Pan, the freaking guru in all this.
Right.
And so he was the one that got me my first female.
Yeah,
I got my very first
monitor.
Oh yeah, 100%. He was the first, So it was funny though, because when I got it. I got the male, and I had him for a little bit, and I was talking to him, and I was like, hey, kind of school me a little bit, because I got this guy in a trade. I don't know what I'm doing, to the point, I know how to take care of monitors. Help me understand the mangrove.
Right.
So he gave me the rundown, and he tried to buy the male off me. He was like, I really want him for a breeding project for this girl. I was like, well, how about instead of me selling you my male, how about you sell me that female? And jokingly, he goes, $600 right now. I was like, done.
Wow.
I was like, done. He's like, I didn't think you were gonna do that. So he ended up shipping her to me. And it was a good female, really, really nice female. And my male was so laid back, so he took the punishment from the female, because the females are really aggressive towards the males.
Yeah.
Shout out to Fungus Queen. I appreciate you guys. What up, Derek? Appreciate you, bro. I see everybody popping in the chat. But no,
guys?
so we did that, and it was funny because he kept reminding me, he's like, hey, just really watch the male, because the male could kill the female at any given time. And I was like, really? So he's like, you really need to watch it. And after I got it down and like really started paying attention to him, I gave him a nice, good sized area, and got them all like situated in there. And I put a cage between them so that way they couldn't get to each other.
Right.
And once I removed that cage, the male started courting her and everything. She kicked his ass, but he took it. And then maybe 2 days later, I see a perfect lock. And I was just so lucky. And I think I've only been able to do it 4 times now, producing eggs with them. And
that's awesome.
I was so excited. And then when I brought one of the babies to Kai, and Kai was like, "This is for my girl?" I was like, "Yeah." He's all, Do I get to keep this? Like, I want to keep this one. He's all friendly. Like, he's sitting there rubbing his head and it's not even caring.
Yeah.
And he tried to keep it, and it was funny. But I ended up keeping it. But I didn't know he had. It was stupid. He kept eating dirt. I don't know why. He just kept eating dirt. And I think it was like the bedding that I use is the Premier Peat Moss.
Right.
And like they can eat a little bit of it, no problem. But he liked it so much that he just kept eating it. I don't know what his issue was.
Right.
He was a weirdo. But the dude ate so much, but he ended up dying on me, sadly. But I still had the parents. The parents I ended up selling to a friend of mine, and now I'm teaching him how to breed them.
That's awesome, man. Like, I love hearing stories about people just working with stuff that's not always on the commonplace, you know? Like, I love to hear those fringe species being worked with and people passionate about those species, you know, individually. That's awesome.
My goal with them is I was trying to work with something, because there, as you know, like mangroves and same with savannas, there's not many people breeding them. So a lot of the ones that are in the trade are all wild caught imports.
Yeah.
And go ahead, bro. No, you're good.
No, I was just saying that, I had a Molinas for a while too, and I really like those, man, but they just need so much space that I sold it to my buddy, but I sold it close so I can go check it out whenever I want to.
Go check it out.
Oh yeah, because I mean, I knew the buddy who sent it up here, and he handpicked the nicest one he thought was gonna, that came in, and it is a nice male. It's yellow. So I get to go over there and check it out every once in a while. And then I'm working with Persinus right now too. I got a pair of Persinus.
Right on. So how do you like working with those ones?
I love them, man. I had a 1.2, but one of the females kicked the bucket on me, was trying to get them breeding, and I'm pretty sure she was egg bound. But she was 4 years old, like, what can you do? So, and the female that's now, she's just as old, but she's smaller, but she's already given me one clutch. It was just infertile. Nice. So we're trying to go through the motions again. Yep.
Was it like her first clutch type thing?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what we're hoping for.
That's the one thing that sucks when it comes to first clutches with with monitors, or most species in general, is either it's a super small clutch or it's a 50-50 where it's going to be like super many infertiles and then like a couple good ones.
Yeah, I just realized, like, I'm not a good monitor breeder, and I'm okay with that.
It takes time. It takes a lot of time.
And that's my problem. I just don't have the time. I got 5 kids, and I have 2 businesses, and on top of it, all my kids play sports: football, football, wrestling, soccer, baseball. All.
Damn, so you busy.
No, I don't have time at all. That's why I was like, I just have to schedule everything, and we're good. I schedule stuff. Right. Okay. So, yeah, I mean,
I get it, man.
That's
insane.
Yeah, and I just pretty much look at this as my passion. Like, it's my hobby. If I keep having years like I had like this year, then I'm going to have to be forced into, create an LLC anyways for this, just because the government's going to want their cut here eventually soon. So,
That's
but right now I'm just kind of, helping friends out. Like, most of the stuff it's breeding for me, like I'm just breeding it for myself, and I'm hand selecting stuff. And if people want pretty much the stuff that I'm not holding back, then they're more than welcome to purchase that from me. But Right now, it's not consistent enough to be a business, and the species I work with, they're not, they're not going to pump stuff out like ball pythons or corn snakes.
Right.
So
I get that. So what all do you work with?
So the main 3 species of snakes that I'm just like head over heels with is, my first one was green tree pythons. I got into ball pythons back in the day, probably like 2007, something like that. As a young kid, I've always had critters. I bred mice when I was a kid too. But about 2008 is when I actually got like my first ball python, 2007, 2008. And from there, I was just like, well, there's other things out there. So I started getting more ball pythons, and I got green tree pythons. And when I got the green tree pythons, I was kind of forgetting about those ball pythons, because and I was so enamored with these green snakes on a stick. So the first year I bred them, I actually produced the green tree pythons first. And then that same year, I produced the ball pythons. And after I bred the ball pythons, I just sold them all. And I said, I'm dumping all of this into green tree pythons. I really love that species. But if anyone that knows green tree pythons, it's a kick in the nuts sometimes, because, you're going to have your ups and your downs. The first,
I just got infertals late yesterday, and I was so depressed. I was so excited. I told nobody nothing. I didn't let anybody know that I was even breeding them this year. I just let them do their thing. I was like, we're going to come out with eggs, and then we'll say something. And I saw she's been going down to the bottom, so I put a lay box in there, and I was like, I got this. So stoked. And then I saw her in there, and she looked deflated. I was like, okay, this is my time. And I opened up, all the fertles, all infertles. I was so sad. I was like, yep. Yeah. She did, but I could see her through the box.
Oh, okay.
And she just, you could tell she looked deflated. I was like, no. I was like, okay, this is good. We're good, right? I opened it and I checked, and she was an import.
Import. Yeah. How does she look?
Yeah, she's an import.
Now? She looked like
good. She's just okay? She's a little skinny, really skinny.
Some of them can look rough.
That took a lot out of her, because she's pretty rough right now. So I got her sitting there. I ended up covering the glass so that way she doesn't stress. I cleaned the whole cage out and made sure she got a good cleaning. She bit me a couple times. But I didn't want her to keep smelling like the eggs and stress her, so I cleaned her up really good, cleaned up everything else, and then I put her back. And then I was a kick in the nuts. I was all excited, I thought I did everything good. But I think it was the male that failed me, because he did it. This is his second time breeding, and the same issue is I got infertils last time too. So
get them colder next year.
That's what I was gonna try to do, is maybe put them in the same room with when I brewmate the Pegues. I think I'm gonna put them in there because it gets really cold in there. So I'm wondering if maybe that's it, if that's what I gotta do, or if he's just shooting blanks on me.
That's just possible. It's always possible. But that's the first thing I do, is I would get him colder and I'd put more food to her. So, I'm
gonna pack her up a little bit and make sure that she's nice and more plump, because this is her first year with me, because she was, like I said, an import. I got her already as an adult, and she had a really good demeanor as an adult though. I was expecting more bitey and less wanting to mess with me, but she's pretty chill. But she doesn't like. She's got her good days and her bad days. You stick your hand in there, and sometimes you're getting wham, wham, and so other times it's just like, ooh, I'm gonna come out and chill on you. So you got a love-hate relationship type thing. No.
Yeah, and they all have their different personalities too. I had I started off, my first group was a 2.4, and one of the males, Diablo, he bred everything. The other male bred, never produced anything from him other than infertils. So it's
I think that's my issue.
It's just part of it. That first group that I had, everyone talks about their struggles with green tree pythons. It was amazing. I had 4 clutches and 3 of them were successful. And I had some problems with the second clutch on the babies. But for the most part, like, ending up with 6 to 10 green tree pythons every clutch was not bad. But it's the second group that I acquired after I sold everything from, when I went through my divorce and got back into snakes, is trying to establish, sending animals out on breeding loan, not having them ever return, or, snakes dying on you, or, trying to figure stuff out, or compatibility issues, so, this year I got to pick up a couple males. I'm trying to get to the point where I'm like, I either pick up a couple males this year, or I put these girls that I have, because I have a few girls, they'll be ready next season. I put them in a couple buddies' hands. So I'm just trying to figure it out right now, because next species,
Chuck is doing pretty good. No.
Oh, I already talked to Chuck about this. He'd probably be the first one on the list there. That's like my brother, dude. Like,
Chuck's
Chuck's a
doing
good
great
guy.
over there.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty funny. I was talking to him the other day, and he was on live trying to educate another person how to breed his and what he should be doing. And I was like, man, I remember bringing Chuck on a long time ago for trying to get him to, like, while he's still breeding and still, like, trying to get it all down.
Yeah.
And he's like, I think I did it. I think they're gonna be there. I was like, dude, no, don't think. You just gotta put it in the universe. Be excited about it. I was like, I think he looks good. And I was like, I think you're good, man. You got it. And sure enough, he texted me like in the middle of the night, I got eggs. He's like, I got him. He's so ecstatic.
I could just see him throwing his hands up and running around in circles.
Dude, it was awesome seeing that. I and then seeing him post like how he's doing with the babies and everything, and they're still doing really well. I mean, shout out to him, man. He put in a lot of work into those.
Oh, absolutely. And they are a lot of work, and that's why it comes to, like, the second species I have was actually, I acquired this species because Amazon tree boas, and I know that you used to work with those too, right?
The Amazons, yeah.
So the reason I got into Amazons heavy is because I was like, man, I'm tired of people, like, I'm putting all my work into these green tree python babies, and they're taking them home and they can't even make it a year. You know what I mean? Like, it kills me. Like, I put a lot of work into them. And so I was like, I want a species that I could talk to people, like, I could talk them into this species instead, that has kind of similar aesthetics to it, that hangs out on a perch, like, is pretty colors. And I found that is Amazon tree boas. I don't want to tell people to get in. Yeah, but they're hardier.
They're less they're hardier, and they're less expensive as well.
Exactly. Well, nowadays they're getting crazy.
Are they really?
Yeah, man. Like,
I'm out of it, man. I haven't been breeding them. I keep mine, and I love their colors, but I haven't really been breeding them because every time I bred them, I was sitting on them for the longest time. I still have 5 babies that we produced a while back, and I kept them all because nobody bought them. So I was like, you know what? I like your guys' colors. You're kind of growing on me. I'm gonna keep you guys.
So this is the reason everyone just thinks that they're bitey little pogo sticks, like with teeth. But the thing is if you work with them, they're not like that. They're not that bad. And that's what I do at the expos. I take my animals out and I'll show them, like, this is what you're getting. I try to habituate their heads so they're not going to always strike at people. So when I'm servicing the babies, I'll mess with the head a lot. So I'm I'm like desensitizing them to that sensation of movement around.
Being touched.
So they're going to use smell more than just their heat pits, because they're learning, but it really does work. And so I've fallen in love with Amazon tree boas, man. Like, I might get rid of my green tree pythons to make room for my Amazons.
Really?
Absolutely. Yeah, there was a liger that sold this year for $5,000.
God damn.
That's a leopard tiger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, someone's offered me, like, $3,500 for a freak show, one of my snakes.
That is actually really cool.
So the thing is like, people are starting to see that the colors and the patterns that you can do with Amazons, you can't do with green tree pythons.
Right.
You can't. But it's the opposite you can be said about chondros. You don't have the blue and the green and the black and the yellow. Well, yellow, yeah, but you don't
Yellow.
have that on. You know what I mean? Like yellow
Right.
Amazons, you can't beat that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I really like what a lot of people pronounce it differently. I call it Biac. Other people tell me it's Biac. But I really like those because it's just the yellow blotching all the way through. It's like as if it's like a peppering effect all the way through. I love it.
I have a nice like tiger Biac female up here, and she's gorgeous. Like raised her up from a little red neonate, but I like the chondros. To me, I stay away from trends. And
Right.
I don't know why, but that's just how I am. Like when everyone starts to get into something, I'm kind of like, oh, I'm losing it, So then that's how I know like what I really like, like, okay, am I just doing this because I want to breed this species, or am I doing it because I really love the species? Because I'm trying to like figure that out, because I love to breed them, but if I didn't breed them, would I keep them, and would I keep as many as I do? So I try to figure that out. I want to go in this room, man, after a hard day of work and look around and really enjoy it.
Yeah, see, I do this as a business, but this is my passion. Like I don't see this as work. I love coming in here and just playing with everything. Granted, the way I tell everybody, like I get a lot of people that like don't do this as a business. They're like, oh, I would love to do that full time and everything. I'm like, no, dude, I'm just a glorified pooper scooper. That's like the best way I can say it. Like that's all I do all day is clean poop, and then I get like 5 minutes worth of playing with one animal. But when you're pushing over 400 animals, you're in here all damn day. Like and it's not just like one day that you get 1 day on and then you're off the rest of the week. It's an everyday process of poop,
you're
clean,
hustling, you're
waters.
grinding. Yeah.
Yep.
Like
and that's why we only do these like on Tuesdays and Fridays. Everybody's like, oh, well, why don't you do like a couple more lives during the week? I'm like, how hard it is to try to add these in, and then like this dude's going nuts right now because he thinks he's getting fed. I don't know. Oh, it's because he sees the tongs. he sees the colored tongs, and he associates those with worms, and so he's going nuts. Yeah. Well, I do a lot of work with them because I do a lot of educational shows. We take them we take our animals out to like schools, public events, and then we do parties and stuff. And I really like bringing like this one is a new hit. We took him with us for the first time. And kids loved watching him chase me, and he legitimately chased me for like a good 10 feet to get a worm. And I gave him a couple for him chasing me that far because I didn't think he was going to do it. I was going to make him move like 4 feet, but no, he went and chased me down.
That's awesome.
So it was super cool.
Awesome, man. They don't get the love that they like really deserve.
They're
like
really
I hate
underrated.
that people poo-poo on them, but I tell people this: if you stop importing them from Africa, that's going to be a $300 monitor right off the bat. At least, you know what I mean? Like they're just
just like green anacondas.
Sure.
Green anacondas were, I mean, people were getting them for a couple $100.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a couple $100, and then now once they closed the trade down and stopped getting them imported, they're now 1,000, 2,000. I saw one up for sale that was a 6-foot female that sold for 7,000.
But see, the thing is with those large species, I think they should be a little bit more so that the buyers that are actually getting them are understanding what they're getting into. Because if you're getting $150 anaconda, an anaconda should not be less than $1,000 in my eyes, and that sucks for the people that like would be good keepers that couldn't afford it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I think that kind of forces
if you can't afford the $1,000 animal.
Yeah,
and then you're not going to be able to, have like. I mean, I'm not saying you need like a cage like Barcheck, with he's got the whole custom big cage with the waterfall and all that. Yeah. I don't say you got to have that, but if you can't, handle something that's gonna get 16, 18 feet, and super heavy bodied. Then I don't think a lot of people really need them, and it's sad that I've seen quite a few even this last year. I saw some people getting out because feeders prices were going up, and they couldn't keep up with it. They couldn't keep up with feeding them, so they got rid of them at a pretty decent price. And now I just saw one of them the other day that was bought back in November, the end of November. It's back up for sale, and this thing is about 10 pounds, if not more, lighter than it was back when they got it, because they said they couldn't get it to eat. Which I don't think that was the case, because it lost a lot of weight to where it's super visual. So I feel like it was something where they just couldn't take care of it type thing.
Right.
Especially for a snake that likes to be in water. I don't know how it had stuck shed on it. That didn't make a lot of sense to me. I was like, something that's supposed to. Right, and that's my thing, especially with the heavier bodied snakes, especially just that snake in general. There's so many. Like one species I want to get into, like we were talking, the uncommon, is the elephant trunks. I haven't
My
seen
buddy Tony
a ton
has
of those in the trade. Yeah.
Revision?
Or no, wait. Is that the one that keeps going over with
Revision?
That's not
Reptiles?
the one that keeps doing videos.
Brad Wheeler's buddy?
No.
Dorier?
I
can't remember his last name. Tony. They came up to the Northwest Carpet Fest in 2019, I think, and I met those guys up here.
I'm thinking of another guy that keeps doing videos with Nerd Kevin.
No. He made a big enclosure / aquarium that he put in his garage, and then he has aquariums in his house, I believe, too.
That's super cool. Yeah, because the reason I liked it was, that's something that's not super common, but it's literally two of my favorite hobbies: fish, snakes. The best of both worlds at that point.
Hell yeah.
So it's something I really wanted to get into. And I've been looking for somebody to kind of mentor me into it, because I can
Tony. He's awesome, man.
I'll have to hit him up, man.
He's trying to breed them right now. Yeah.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's trying to breed them, but he's keeping quite a few of them, and he's really trying that. And he breeds yellow anacondas too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dementor, what up? Appreciate you joining the live. No, that's actually really cool. And we work with a lot of different, like, varied species. I can't just keep one.
No,
like I can't do it. Like I don't want to say I get bored with it, but it's like the same thing every day. So then you kind of start losing interest with it. But with 30 something different species, it's always something new. You have no idea what's gonna happen. Like our our Solomon Island leaf frogs. I got those just because they looked cool as hell, and I really liked them. And I didn't know, but I thought that when they laid their eggs, they were going to have tadpoles. No, when they lay eggs, they bury them, and they actually come out full-fledged tiny little frogs.
What?
I had no idea. It was friggin' insane. And it was super cool. I had no idea. I just got them because I was like, okay, these are really cool. And a buddy of mine that does wholesale, he couldn't sell them. Like nobody knew what they were, or just like didn't want them. And he was like, hey, dude, like if you take this group of 8 of them for like $40, you can have them. And I was like, $40 for 8 frogs? Some look cool as hell. Yeah, I did them down. I'm like, I'll look into it. And I looked into their care and everything, but I didn't like look into breeding. As I thought, hey, raining season, you would think you need it, right? Yeah, no, one of them was already gravid.
Oh, so you didn't have to do a rain chamber or nothing like that?
No, they were just ready
to go.
Yeah, she was just ready, and it was super cool. Yellows, I miss my yellow. No, so it's not the ones I have reds, blacks, and like really cool looking leafy, like a crisp leaf brown. But I really like the red ones. I think the red ones are the coolest, and then the black ones are like super satanic looking. Like they come out of the dark corners, and then just all you see is their crazy looking eyes, and I'm just like, yep, I like those.
A lot of people are drawn to that, like that bright. That's how like Amazon's for me. Like people see the red ones and they see the Halloween ones first. And I have like some Halloweens that I work with that are really dark. They have a lot less pattern and have a lot less of the orange on the dorsal. So, you know, I always get inquiries about those, but that's kind of something
I
I'm
have
working on.
two Halloweens, and one of them is like almost patternless ish.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really dark, and the other one's got like a really nice like orange coming through it. I really like that one. That one really hates me though. No matter what I do with this thing, it wants a piece of me. Like no matter
I like
what.
that though. I like that every once in a while though. I mean, most men are not
yellow
like that. Like out of all mine, I might have like I have 4 that are like that. You know, like it's not bad.
Bro, can
But
you not?
I think
beating on the glass.
I think people are going to be really surprised here soon in the next 10 years. The things that are going to come out with Amazon tree bows.
I'm excited to see it because it's. I hear there's a lot of newer morphs coming out, and a lot of people, a lot of mixing, and there's more people working with them today than there was a few years back.
So this is what I have to say. People saw the potential in ball pythons with just some idiosyncrasies in their patterns. You know what I mean? Like just very differences with some pattern and color, and they were able to create what they have today. If you look at Amazon tree bows in the wild, you already start off with something that's amazing. You know what I mean? Like that's red, orange, bicolor, tigers in the wild, gardens, Halloweens. You know, there's all different kinds. So our base morphs are almost kind of like advanced further than the ball pythons did since the beginning. You know, if that makes sense.
Right.
So we're at that threshold, I think, now where we're just starting to figure out, okay, we have some genes under our belt, you know, that we have proved out, like that, you know, some of my friends have worked with, and there's a lot more to come with Amazons. People are going to be surprised when they get to see some of the crazy colors. And
I'm excited, man. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on your page and see what you come up with, man. I'm excited now. So now you put it in that perspective, it makes me want to get back into breeding them.
So this is what I have to tell people, right? Everyone looks at like Amazons. Like I used to buy them from Cam at Bushmaster for like $20, man. Like he wouldn't even look at the Amazons. He would just count them and send them in the same bag that came to him in with ticks and mites and everything on them. But if you take a look at a yellow Amazon tree boa and you take a look at a garden, right? Why would that not be an exanthic form of the yellow? We're trying to figure out like if these are truly genes or is it just polymorphic, you know? Like are they just a run of the mill? We don't know. Or are they already packing all these genes and we just need to start extrapolating that?
That's actually a really good way to think about that. I didn't even think about that. That is actually really cool.
Yeah. So I think that's what we're going to start doing now.
Chuck says, get Freak Show out.
I'd have to go up there and get it. You know which one I will get out, though? I just picked up this little girl from Ryan Young. Because I keep most of my animals in, like, in displays. Sorry, guys. The lighting in here is horrible.
Ring lights. They save your life.
Oh, yeah. So this little girl, I mean, she looks almost pink, right? But you can tell she's not going crazy, you know?
Wow. I really like the color in that one.
It's hard to get a good view.
No, you got a good view.
But she's just like what we consider a calico. But
that is really pretty.
For some reason, Ryan Young's been working on his bicolors, and she popped out of his bicolor line. So you know what a bicolor is? Just like yellow and orange, like kind of striped,
like a stripe,
or the red and
or
orange.
Like a blotching looking.
Yeah, so we call those bicolors. If it has black on it, then it's like tricolor. If it has more than 2 colors, we call it a tricolor. So we're just trying to establish like these looks and put names to them. It doesn't necessarily mean they're morphs or genes or anything like that. We're just trying to show people like, okay, what if we separate these out? What if we separate these out? You know? And so people are starting to do that with reds, with oranges, with bicolors, with calicos. reds, all of that stuff. But what's
Okay.
interesting to me is, for some reason, those weird calicos, like that pink one I just showed you, those are coming from bicolor pairings, and they almost look like a bicolor calico. So I've been going around to all the people in the country that have produced those and buying them from them. Dayton, Rory Gresco, Ryan Young, Dayton Croydon,
I like it.
And just trying to go around. Noah Ingram, Brandon Kreis, trying to get animals that are really crazy looking calicos. Back in the day, there was this girl, Abby Milvastudo, and she had some animals named like Dragonheart and stuff like that. My animals will rival that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is actually really cool.
And when I see them start to produce, those babies should be better than that. I mean, who knows what's going on? But
when you produce some like her that you just pulled out, because that's something I would be interested in for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like a snake like that, you're gonna pay between like $1,000 and $2,000 nowadays.
Right.
So I mean,
I don't bat an eye at that. I work with a lot of bigger monitors.
Yeah, and then that's good though. It's like it's finally like people are starting to appreciate them. Like I love to see that.
No, for sure. I really like that. Like when you pulled her out, the one thing I really liked is that you showed right off the rip that she is not like you said, like a bitey. A bitey snake or snake off a stick type thing.
Yeah.
You made that really
cooler. I keep my snakes cooler, and I think that really is a lot, plays into the aspect that they're not as bitey as some other people's collections.
Yeah, because the way I try doing it is like certain animals, like for instance, like venomous. A lot of people demonize them, with like basically stating like they're just out to get you,
right?
When at the same time it's just a snake. There's nothing different from it than other than the fact that this one uses venom to eat its food and the other one wraps it and constricts it. And so at the same time, as long as you handle and work with it, there's nothing to fear. And it's been a really unpopular topic. Like a lot of people just don't like listen to it. And so I ended up just out of being a spite. I don't want to say like out of spite, but just out of it. I ended up taming out one of the worst tempered, and this is a Crotalus atrox. I don't even need the hook. I could literally just grab this thing. Doesn't even care, like a ball python. And so when I see people,
that's a Western.
Yep.
Wow.
And you can see it's completely chill. Was completely chill. Here,
you can do that with almost any species, and people don't realize that. You just have to put the work in.
As long as you put the work
and build trust. It's like I tell people, you want to build a rope, but by building a rope, you build one thread at a time. So every interaction you have with your animal, you need to end on a positive note. If the animal bites you or musks on you, don't put it away right away. Because that's going to teach them that they are almost training you. If they want to go away, they're going to bite you or musk on you. Hopefully not your venomous snake, but you know what I'm saying.
So there's no danger with me doing that. Just as a backstory, I have been bit a lot when I was a kid. So if I was to get tagged, I actually have a
immunities to it, huh?
Yeah, exactly what it is. It's basically like when you get sick, you build antibodies for that for that sickness. It's the same thing with the venom. I have antibodies to fight off that venom. So worst case, if I did ever get tagged by that species, I might throw up. I might throw up and I might be like really hot, like get really sweaty. Other than that, I'm taking a nap and I'll be just fine.
That's dope.
But like,
you don't see that often.
And so like that was like my main goal with working with it was I got something young that I could work with, and I'm trying to do it with one of these adults that I got. And I haven't really showed off that one. I show off Karen sometimes, which Karen is another Western who is literally the meaning of Western. She is mad as hell.
Right.
She will strike her own shadow sometimes because she's just that mad.
But I mean, it's gonna fall into the personality of the snake too, and
right?
How they're kept, how they've been kept. You know, I mean, there's a lot of variables that play into their behavior.
Karen was field collected, and then this one technically was field collected. I removed its mom from some lady's kitchen, and one snake in the bucket turned to 14 or 15 snakes in a bucket.
Yeah.
So she had her kids, and she was looking for somewhere to have babies, and she ended up having them in my bucket when I grabbed her. And
but
so
you saved her from a kitchen?
Yeah, she was in somebody's kitchen.
You imagine if someone who hated snakes found rattlesnake babies in there?
Her mind. And she had the babies in the bucket while I was talking to her. Because like I heard the rattling and she was going off, and I was like, I'm gonna check. And sure enough, she's shooting babies out while she's looking at me like she's about to bite me. Wow. And I'm like, oh, you are having babies right now. A lady was freaking out. She's looking in like, what? And she was going, she's like, that could have been in my kitchen. I was like, yeah, that could have. And because it was trying to go under the sink, and the messed up part was she was missing the bottom threshold. So it could have gone right under the cabinets.
Yeah, and that would have been rough to get out. Can you imagine after she had those?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I told her, I was like, dude, if that had happened, like you'd have had to demo out all of that to get in there to make sure all of them were gone.
Yeah.
And it was nuts. But yeah, she called me because I guess our fire department wouldn't come out to go get them. I guess they were either busy or just scared of the reptiles. It was right around the time when one of their guys actually got bit in the hand by a Western. He was using a short pole to grab a Western, and he grabbed her by mid-body. I guess it was a good-sized female, and because they showed me the pictures of her, and they grabbed her mid-body, and he had his hand halfway down, so all she did was whip around and boom, right in his hand.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why they didn't show up to get it. But a lot of people's conception of these is like, hey, this is something that's aggressive. This is gonna bite you. This is like you can't tame them out. Blah blah blah. Like I've talked to some people who have been working with venomous for. I think the one dude was telling me he's working on them for 20 years. He's like, you can't tame them out. They're always gonna want to bite you. You can handle them, but they're still gonna strike you.
Yeah.
And that was my thing. I was like, that's not the way to think about it. I mean, you can tame out green tree pythons, anything that with the word tree in it. You think I'm gonna get bit, right. and that's the mentality of it. But like you showed, you just straight stuck your hand in there and pulled that out pretty quickly, and you're sitting there rubbing it, and it was chilling on you. Same with that guy. I just let him go through my fingers, and he had no care. And it's the same thing. As long as you put the work in with those animals, you build that trust with them.
Yeah, and you start to learn how to read them. You start to really be able to anticipate their movements, so you can kind of work with them. And
it's like I don't want to say anything like that. It's weird. Best way to put it is the way Tom Crutchfield says. Once the keeper and the animal no longer have a fear of each other, that is when the whole new bond comes together. That is when you have a whole new experience with this animal. Yeah,
when you lose the fear.
Yep, and it's not just you losing the fear, but the animal losing its fear of you.
Right.
And you build those threads of trust. You're golden after that.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's proved that time and time again with like croc monitors. which are known to have like one of the worst bites and one of the worst attitudes out of the monitor species besides Niles.
Yeah.
And he even I remember he had a Nile that was that he could play with like as if it was like a super friendly Tegu.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's certain things like that I love seeing more of. It's people really putting the time into the species.
Yeah, every decade I think we're really just, we're not growing as fast as like maybe the dog industry or like cats or even fish or birds, but we're still growing a little bit, and it's
for sure.
It's going to be interesting to see where we are in another 10, 20 years.
Hopefully everything keeps growing. See, that is my goal with doing these interviews is I learn something new every day. Like you said, I've been out of breeding these guys for a long time now, and you're over here breeding them, and you're opened my eyes to a whole new morphs of trying to think about how diverse they really are. And so that I love learning something new every day, but I don't just bring on reptile people. We have some falconers that are going to be coming on. We've had some fish keepers, and things like that. I'm trying to bring the exotic animal keeping community together.
Because we're all really mixed and intertwined, most of us are. A lot of us that keep this, keep that, or keep that, keep this, it goes back and forth. It's hand in hand.
For sure. And like I said, like when it comes to exotic animals, when we're doing, like USARK or anything, USARK doesn't just fight for the rights of reptiles. It's all exotic animals.
Right.
So at the end of the day, the really big ban that they were pushing before, that wasn't just reptiles. Mammals were on that, and reptiles, birds, fish, they were all on that ban. And so, USARK was battling that and was able to get it pushed and changed to where it wasn't going to go into effect. But it was mostly reptile people that, were backing USARK. So if we can get more people together as instead of just the reptile community or just the bird community, if we just have exotic animal keeper community type thing, I think we'd have way more, ease, when it comes to certain states coming at, different animals. Absolutely. That way we're all together on it. So I that's my goal, at least doing this podcast, is to try to bring more than just the reptile community together.
That's great. Yeah, I like that, man. Because, like I said, like I keep fish too. I've kept birds. I've kept small mammals. But I've found my niche, But I like all of it. I love animals in general. So when you go to these expos, there's tons of stuff there, But speaking about the Crutchfields, that kind of leads me to the last species that I keep, Dominican red mountain boas.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So I keep, I have a couple pairs over here, and luckily the females, I have a pair that's on loan, and two of the females gave me babies last summer.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So I've been my wife and I have been getting all those babies established, sold a few of them already, but most of them are all taking rodents already.
What is the average pricing on those?
There's no average pricing on those because no one knows what to buy them and sell them for. So this is what I'm doing for everyone. And I'm just doing flat fees. I'm not changing it for anyone else. Because I've seen them on Morph Market for $1,000, $1,500, $700, $200. Like, it's like, where's the threshold here?
Where's the threshold at? Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, and my red to orange litter, that's all spoken for already. But those ones were $750 a piece plus shipping. And then my pastel to pastel litter, those are $500 plus shipping. And no one's really bat an eye at those prices. They said that's pretty reasonable. And I thought so too. I was kind of keeping my eye on Morph Market, and those people are just reselling animals that they probably bought. They're not breeding them themselves.
Right.
So, and I can guarantee that the animal that I give you is going to be eating rodents. And if it doesn't, ship it back and I'll send you another one that's because sometimes animals regress a little bit and people need to understand that.
Yeah. Nope. I get it. Yeah. The first time I saw one of those or even knew what it was back when I did a private tour of the San Diego Zoo.
Nice.
And they actually brought one of those out, and we got to handle it, and it was super cool. I've never heard of that species before at that time. Like I didn't even know what it was, and it was just super cool. And I've been wanting to get into them, but I never found anybody breeding them. Now I've seen a couple of them for sale.
I haven't posted any of my animals anywhere, and they're almost all gone. I have a couple more pairs of the pastels that are available.
We're definitely gonna have to talk for sure.
Sounds good, man.
Because it's something I want to work with because there's not a lot of people that have them.
No,
it's not like you said. It's something that isn't like super known about and isn't like saturated in the hobby. Like like everybody knows what a Savannah monitor is. Almost everybody has one, or has had one. But it's something that I wanna work with because I think they're just super cool.
They're really neat animals. They have so from babies to adults, they have an ontogenic color change. So they're gonna look like how carpet pythons are. They're very drab as babies, and then they kind of grow into their colors as an adult.
Okay.
They're going to do the same thing. So they're going to look almost brown as babies. And as they start to get older, you can see which ones are going to go red, orange, or, some of them are kind of in between. But you can see they'll start to color up. That is actually really cool. They also have what's called a dial color shift. So from day to night or with mood or after consuming food, they could look different colors like crested geckos.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so they could fire up and fire down. So like if I peek in there, like she's kind of drab. One of my orange girls is kind of drab right now, but I'm sure tonight after the rest of the lights go off and I'm out of here for a while, I can come back in, turn on the lights, and she'll be nice and bright.
That is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
They're really interesting
species. And I tell everyone
like I said, to learn something new, man. That is super cool.
Yeah. So what I tell everyone is everyone says, oh, I've heard, from NPR for years that Owen says that they're dirty and nasty and they musk everywhere. And I was talking to my buddy Nick Mutton the other weekend, and actually I just talked to him this today because he bought an animal for me, and I was just making sure it's eating for him. And he was just like, how do you keep them? They pee all over the place, and I don't really, what I don't want to deal with that shit. And I'm like, Nick, what I do is I take the peat moss, like Rodriguez does over here, and we put it down at the bottom, right? We do like an inch or two of that at the bottom, and then I cap everything with cypress mulch. So what happens is when these animals go to the bathroom, all it does is clump up like kitty litter, and you just scoop it out, and you're almost just replacing the cypress mulch. I don't believe in like fully clean. I don't like super sterile systems. I've just learned that the animals seem like they enjoy kind of their scents a little bit longer than we want them to be around,
Right.
So yeah, the Dominicans, I was talking to Nick about this too, and I hate the term Dominican red mountain boa. People just put that name on there to sell them as a price thing,
Right.
He's like, oh, they should be called Haitian boas. And I said, no, you're wrong. They should be called Hispaniolan boas because they reside on the entire island of Hispaniola, not just the Dominican Republic, not just Haiti. So they can be found everywhere there. And it's just a really wonderful species. As babies, like I said, they're a little bit drab, and you don't have to worry about them biting you as babies at all. They will not bite you.
Really?
No. The only thing you have to worry about is they will musk on you.
That's just a typical,
it's
like working with a colubrid.
Exactly. So if you can kind of have that colubrid mindset when they're young, they'll grow out of that stage just like a carpet python grows out of the bitey stage. If you work with them a little bit, they'll be fine.
That's really cool. Sorry, my
But
wife comes
also,
in, she likes messing with me.
well, hey, hi, hi, Miss Rodriguez.
She's a high. She likes
So
coming in, she'll either mess with me. She's got really cold hands because she's been
yeah.
outside the whole time. So she's like, here, it's cold.
I'm surprised my wife hasn't popped in yet either. But my wife will come over and help me when we put the kids to bed and stuff, and we just hang out, and she helps me feed the Dominicans. She doesn't mind them because they won't bite. She always says that. She's like, "You can do your Amazons, but I'll help you with the Dominicans. They're cool."
That's awesome. Yeah, mine loves coming in and helps me feed. For the most part, when it comes to like feeding the snakes and stuff, she's
Mm-hmm.
not like a huge fan of it because she doesn't like if I have to do live, which I have to do for my hots.
Right.
If I have to do that, then she's more of like I'm out. I can't stand it.
I don't care.
But then
I
when
just don't want to get bit when they shoot out the freaking cage.
Karen,
Yeah. Likewise.
yeah, I was about to say,
You're not getting the whole tub, Daddy.
yeah, and right now she's actually feeding our iguana. Because so we gotta rescue iguana. They couldn't care for it anymore, and they were like, speaking of like the whole, being afraid of something that's gonna bite you or something. They were so afraid of it whipping them or biting them that they got these really long freaking gloves, like welder gloves.
Yeah.
And they didn't even give this thing a chance to do anything or think about it. Like when it came to me picking this animal up, they went into this cage, and it's a big cage. Don't get me wrong; they gave him a huge cage. It's like 6-7 feet tall, and it's at least a good like 5-6 feet wide by like 3-4 foot back, like front to back. And so it's a good arboreal cage for them. But they walked in there and legitimately just drumped on him, like just literally slammed their arms on top of him, grabbed a hold of him, and then just threw him into the tub. And they were just like so scared of him. They're like, hey, just a heads up, he's probably gonna bite you and whip the crap out of you when you get him out of that tub. I'm like, yeah, like if I just take him out right now, you just scared the shit out of this guy. What the hell? And I was like, what was the point of that? Like, you couldn't coax him out with food or nothing? Like, you just pounced on the guy. You didn't even get him a chance to wake up. And they're like, oh, well, every time we go in there, he whips us. And I'm like, that man's got a bat tail. Like, and when I say this is, he doesn't have a super long tail anymore. His tail, I guess he was a rescue and they got him. So it's like clubbed. Like his tail's it was all destroyed. So it looks like now he's got a club tail.
Right.
And like when he hits you, it's like getting hit with a bat. It freaking hurts. And but I mean, you just deal with it. And he hasn't ever tried to bite me or anything like that. He always ever just clubs me with the tail. But I took him over to a buddy's place because my buddy thought he had a female, so I gave him the male. And I was like, here, dude, like he needs a gentle touch. Like this is what's going on. This is where he's been. I kid you not. Within the first 5 minutes of him opening the lid and this thing crawling out, it crawled right onto him. And he sat there just petting him like as if he was just a puppy. And so they're like, oh, hey, did you get tore up? Let's see some pictures. How bad did he tear you up? I sent him a video of him sitting on the couch and him just petting him like he was a cat. And come to find out, though, his female was not a female, it was a male. So he had to come back over here. But so he's super chill. He's super chill. It's just he either wants to be around you or he doesn't. He lets you know. So when he wants to come out, he'll scratch on the glass and I'll open it. I'll let him right out and he'll come crawl up my leg and chill on me. But then there's the times he don't want nothing to do with you, and that's when you don't open the glass unless you want to get hit. No. But he's in here.
Like you were saying, it goes back to like when Tom Crutchfield's saying, he says these are sentient beings. And they should be treated as such. Like I tell my kids, because they have their own. I've made them do their own research on their own pets. I told them, these are mine. You guys can obviously enjoy them with me. But what did he say?
He's talking about his life.
But I just told my kids, like, you have to imagine like a big giant comes into your house and removes the lid off of your house and picks you up whenever they want. Like, you're not going to always enjoy that. So you have to go and look at it a different aspect. And once you do that, things start changing.
No, for sure. I mean, it's like, what I was telling everybody, as long as once you lose that fear of the animal, and like like working with monitors or even tegus, people ask me all the time, what's the fastest way to get them to be used to you or whatever? And there is no, that's what I'm saying. There's no fast way of doing it. You have to go through the process. And I was like, you have two different ways. Either A, you stick your hand in there and it's going to whip you, it's going to bite you, and you have to take it. Just sit there. Don't react to it. Once it realizes that the whipping you and the biting you does absolutely nothing and you're still there, 2, it's just going to give up and be like, okay, well, I bit you and I whipped you and nothing's happened to me. Obviously, this isn't a threat. And then once you start really putting the effort into that, you're golden. I mean, I work with way more tegus than I care to admit at this point. I've got way too many.
And there's two different approaches to that. Some people would consider that what they call flooding.
Yep.
And I've done that as well. It works. But I took a different approach with my Savannahs when I got them. My female, she doesn't like to be touched. Like I said, some of them just have different personalities. But my male, he is so curious that I can open the glass and he would just walk out to me, just like yours does. Yep. But I never force handled him at all ever, unless I'm servicing his cage. And I try to just take that aspect like, there's nothing wrong with it. I just think that
my more set is I use food. Yep. Like everything is super food driven, like
positive notes. Yeah.
And so he loves food. So I'm like, okay, if you're afraid of me, but you're more interested in the food than me, let's see if I can get you to get closer and closer and closer. And now I can dangle a worm. He will shoot out of this cage and land right on my chest and then eat that worm and sit on me. But when I first got him, he was friendly towards my smaller friend, but I think my size may have intimidated him. Because like when he brought it over here, it was super fine. He had it. He was working with it, playing with it, and it was just fine. But when I held it, completely different mood set. Like it was I think like it body, like it sucked in a ton of air and just
inflates.
And so like it was trying to intimidate me and like trying to make itself look bigger. And I was like, you know what? I think it's my size. I think I just scare it because I'm considerably bigger than my friend. He's maybe 5 foot something and I'm 6'1". Right. So like there's a height difference there.
It's like me versus Chuck,
Yeah. I think that's like anybody versus Chuck. No,
that's true. Hopefully Chuck's still here. Good.
He is. That or somebody's gonna message later. They're making fun of you. What I miss?
His wife.
But no. It's as long as you work with the animal, you learn the animal's behavior.
Yes.
That's all it takes is just working with it, putting that effort into it. You can tame out with some of the worst animals there is, as long as you give it time. If you're just gonna try to tame something that say you get a wild caught Savannah, they ain't want nothing to do with you.
Well, especially if it's an adult.
Oh yeah. And to prove a point, I actually got one. One of my wholesaler hit me up and he had a huge pissed off male. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, you can just have it, because I was already getting a shipment from him. And so he's like, I'll just put it in your box. He's like, I'll upgrade your box. I won't even charge you extra on shipping. And
there he is.
Break that light.
And but no, so we were, so he's like, I'll just throw it in there. I was like, you know what? I'm curious if I can tame it out. If it's as bad as you're saying. And he's like, no, it charges me. Like it tries to get me. And so when I got it out of the snake bag, he was right. It charged. The second it saw a light, it came right in front of my face. I had that thing puppy dog tame after like a week.
Yeah.
No, it's on. Huh?
But I think
it's a big Savannah.
I don't remember the hell of my hair.
Yeah. Oh my God, the hell of my hair was even worse. That one. Oh yeah.
Halmaheras.
Brian,
Blue tongue?
yeah, blue tongue. I had a
Yeah.
Halmahera. This thing was insane. So it was a wild caught import,
Right.
and it went straight to a store, and then it bit the lady at the store and caused a lot of blood. The lady that bought it had it, and it got her really bad, and she had to get 8 stitches. Now this is a blue tongue that's causing stitches.
Yeah,
She got
they
8
could bite,
stitches,
man.
and then it went from that lady to her other friend, and the other friend was like super scared of it, like just for good reason. She would not like mess with it, and when she contacted me, she's like, "Hey, I know you take in reptiles. Would you take this in?" I was like, "I'll take it in a Halmahera. That's fine." She's like, "No, I need to warn you." I was like, "You need to warn me about a Halmahera." I'm gonna hear this. It's like a Nile monitor. I was like, "No way. No way." And she's like, "It charges you, it'll whip you, it wants to bite you."
That's
and I was like,
funny.
"Really?" Like I was like, "Man, I'm either going in for something that's gonna be docile the second I pick it up, or I'm really going in to like a nightmare lizard." And for some people that have been following me for a while, you guys may remember the lives that I did with this. When I first got him home, I had to use a shirt to throw over him to get him out of the tank that she had him in.
Wow.
To get him into a box. Kid you not, this thing was leaping at my hand to bite me and death rolling and flipping around. This thing wanted me. Even through the glass, like I was tapping on the side of the glass, like moving my hand, and he was biting at the glass to get me. It was that bad. I was like, "Oh, this is insane. This is like a Tegu temperament. Like this thing is mad." And I asked her, I was like, "Did you piss him off before I got here or what?" She's like, No. I haven't been in this room all day. And so, and like, you can tell she was so afraid of this thing because like its cage is just disgusting.
Yeah.
But once she explained the whole scenario of like how she got it, I was like, okay, no, makes sense. And so I put him in a big tub. I had them all set up and substrate. He had like that much worth of substrate. And like, I was like, all right, there's enough room to where you shouldn't be scared of me. I'm not afraid of you, but we're going to try to work this out. And I had JTK reptiles, RKA reptiles, and a couple other people or some other one on the live. And I kid you not, dude, I'm showing the tub, and this thing is on the opposite end of this Sterlite tub. And it's one of the really big ones that you can get from Walmart. I had at least a good 3 feet away from him where my hand's at, and I stuck my hand in there. He ran from the other side of the cage all the way through, mouth open, ready to bite me. And I let him. I just let it happen. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna see how bad this is. Oh, it sucked. He got all 3 of my fingers, so my pinky's out.
Yeah.
And he was munching, and I'm like, this hurts, but what the hell? Like, I'm holding him, and I lift my hand straight up, and he's holding on and just would not let go. I had to legitly open his mouth and get my fingers out of his mouth. It was like working with a tokay gecko.
Yeah.
This thing just
tokays suck, dude. I've bred tokays too. I used to breed tokays. Well, my wife did. She was super into them, so I had this custom cage built and everything. We had a few groups. They freaking suck, dude. So I was just
I know it, dude.
I'm like, I can use these cages for my Amazons. Can I get rid of these? Like, I just want to give them away. And I just like gave them to buddies because I was like,
when it comes to tokays, you kind of have to give them away.
Well, no, people wanted the patternless ones and stuff, but I just didn't want them here.
We had some. We had what was it? I think it was a blue patternless or something like that. He was like a bluish color. He was really cool, but every time I opened that cage, I was bleeding every time.
Yeah,
that dude would leap out of the glass to get me. He was just mean.
Yes, there was a smaller male that was like a green, blue, or whatever they're called, and it would do the same thing. It would wait for me to open. It would try to rush out, not necessarily to bite me, but always to get out. So I had one living in my reptile room for probably like 3 months or something like that. Just taunting me. It was horrible. After I caught the little bastard, I said, they are going.
No, for sure. Yeah, I could not keep dealing with those. And then I was working with him for a while, and I was trying to get, like people that like wanted to breed them or something, and eventually I just gave them away. I was like, "Yep, you guys want these? Oh, cool, dude."
Because you get sick of that. I mean,
Yeah, I was like,
they're
"Oh,
not-
look at the pattern! Isn't this so pretty?" Like,
well, yeah, exactly. They're gorgeous looking geckos.
they're
It's
gorgeous
just
from
not-
afar. Just don't open the
it's-
cage.
Yeah, it's not worth it to me.
Yeah,
There's
no.
other animals I'd rather deal with. So, for sure.
Yo, the homie Gator Pool. What's up, bro?
How's it
Hey,
going?
quick shout out to Gator Pool Gators, guys. If you aren't following Gator Pool on his YouTube, please give him a follow. He actually had his YouTube taken down. That crescent looks really cool. My wife pulled out her little crested gecko who was thinking about jumping on me. Is that
Children like you.
my wife over here just pulling stuff out now.
Ooh, nice.
He's a cool tiger who is thinking about breeding my hand right now. I see it.
Yeah.
Do it.
He's giving you the lick and the eye.
Yeah, he's done it before. I got him out to clean his cage because he likes to poop on his glass, and he bit my finger and started humping my hand. And I was like, that really sucks. That hurts.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if my pride is hurt more than my finger, but
Right. What do you do? Let him finish?
Right. But yeah, we work with a lot of different stuff, and it's always, that's why I said, like, it's crazy, like you never know what's gonna happen. I didn't think I was gonna come in here and have my finger traumatized,
But yeah, I worked with a little bit of everything, man. Like over the years, I got into it really heavy. I always call it Noah's Ark syndrome. Like when you get in, you want everything. Like you want to keep everything, and then you start whittling that down to what you really enjoy. Then I think I'm at the point when I got back into it, I just told myself, you have 2 species. And obviously I'm past that, but I'm still trying to focus. Like this room that I have everything in is a nice small room, so it keeps me humble. If I really want another project, which, speaking of the Crutchfields, I've been talking to Vanessa, so hopefully Jamaican boas will be on my list soon.
There you
hopefully,
go.
That's kind of my next species.
Picked up their 6-foot croc. They had a big 6-foot croc male.
Croc monitor?
The croc monitor. I almost went out there to go pick him up. Wanted I think they wanted like 2,000 for him. And I have a 10-foot by 10-foot by 6-foot tall that I think he would be fantastic in for now until I'd have to move him over to something bigger. But I almost did it, but we ended up not going out there to Florida. So I was like, yeah, it's not worth, like, I'd have to pick it up. I don't think he'd be able to ship that. So I was like, yeah, I'm not doing it.
Wouldn't want to ship it either. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't want to. If it broke out, that would be terrifying.
Yeah, you have.
But we're going to be out there later this year, hopefully. I'm gonna try, or me and Gator Pool are trying to make it out to Florida to later this summer to go herping and go do a whole bunch of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're trying to do all that. We're gonna go see if we can go hang out with like Chandler and go check out Ty Park's place over there at Iguana Land.
Dude, Ty Park, man, that guy is a legend.
For sure. I've talked to Ty quite a few times. I got a couple of his animals too. Ty's a really cool guy.
Yeah, Chandler seems like a nice guy. He just has so much energy, it gives me anxiety.
He does. For an old guy, he's got a lot of energy.
It's too much for me, man.
He's so cool. I love talking with him. He's got so much knowledge and experience.
Oh, I'm sure.
Talking with him, I got to get him on. I got to talk to him and get him on here. But I've been waiting because we're booked out till no, I'm booked out till after March. April, yeah, I'm booked up till mid-April.
Dude,
for lives.
I appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you jumping on and sharing your passion with us. I kid you not, we have been talking for now almost an hour and 20 minutes, and we are only on the second question.
Well, dude, I have all night, like, so whatever. I don't care.
I'm so down. Dude, I've had a fantastic conversation with you. I love it.
Sorry,
This is
All right,
super cool.
ask your questions so that we.
So how did you get into this hobby?
And like I said, I always kind of had animals. But I got my first ball python in 2007 just because I was looking for something different. You know, like I told you in the beginning, I don't follow the trends. That's not me at all. And I was with my ex-wife at the time, and her and I we weren't happy. I was trying to find something that I was passionate about, you know, and she was over in Ross looking for something, clothes or something. And I was like, I'm going to go over to the pet store and see what's going on over there. And I bought a ball python. It was on sale. And I was like, I want that python. I looked it up. I was like, they stay under 6 feet. I'll get this 40-gallon breeder. I'll get all the setup. And then I just fell in love with reptiles, you know, like go through that Noah's Ark stage where you go, I'm gonna breed leopard geckos now. Oh, okay, veiled chameleons. Oh, crested geckos. Oh, you know what I mean? You just start going down that gamut, and tokay geckos and dart frogs, and I've had it and bred it, you know. And
I feel personally attacked now, because that's how it happened, dude. We did the same thing. Ball pythons, boas was my uncle's, and then I kept a western for a while, and then we ended up. I got rid of the western because my dad finally realized that I had it for like 3 years. Yeah, it was the funniest thing when he found it too. Like he thought it was a ball python.
God.
He had no idea, and he bumped the tank and I've never seen this man jump so high. He's 6'1", 6'2", and he was like, I don't know, 400 or 500 pounds. Yeah. And I've never seen his fat ass jump that high before. I mean, that was funny as hell.
That's
but see, yeah, go ahead.
If I could keep hots, it would be squams.
Ooh.
Yeah. Do you follow Alexander England?
Alexander England.
I think it's like Rory's dad or something like that on Instagram.
I want to say yes, but I'm going to say maybe.
That guy's a badass. If I were to keep any venomous snakes, it would be Atheris squamigera.
Have you seen Quentin Venom HQ or Venomous HQ? He's got a weird. His name's Quentin. This dude's crazy. He's like me, but he legitimately has tamed out most of his nausea species. And I mean, this dude can pull out a monocle like as if it's a ball python. This thing is super chill. Like he works with a ton of them. He's got gaboons. Him and another guy are now doing a lot when it comes to venomous. They keep a ton. So they just got green mambas and black mambas. They got a pair of them each. They've got a lot of tons of stuff. The albinos, emerald, or was it the leucistics, the diamond line leucistic or something like that for the what was it, nausea species. I'm more when it comes to with venomous, I'm always more into the scientific name. But the monocles, they've got tons of them. And most people know him right now because he actually got bit doing a feeding accident with a Chinese cobra. Ended up biting him right in his finger. And he ended up flatlining 3 times. He was on the Facebook venomous page for the bites. Wow. Yeah, he had to get venom or anti-venom shipped in from the zoo. They had to airlift it in. It was a whole big thing. It was nuts.
Yeah, the zoos hate that.
Yeah, they were pissed. It was a feeding accident. That thing just jumped out of the cage and ended up missing the food and got his finger while he was using the tongs, but he was using a smaller set. and he didn't or he couldn't find a super long forceps like these ones, so he had one of the ones that are like half the size,
Right.
and it just missed the food and went right on his finger.
I mean, it's the risk you take with keeping hots, you know. So I promised my wife that we live in Washington State, so I can't keep them here anyways, legally.
Right.
You know, I can try to get an educational permit if I really wanted to, but I'm not going to do that.
Right.
So if we moved and the kids were out of the house, that's the only time I would actually try.
Yeah, see, we keep 12 hots. So I've got the Crotalus cerberus, which is the Arizona black. I've got Crotalus pyrus, or Crotalus pyrus mitchellii, one of the two. I think and it's the blue speckled.
And
Speckles
then are pretty.
I love the speckled. This one in particular, she's really pretty. And then we've got the Crotalus crotal, or I can't remember. But it's the sidewinders. I got 4 of those. I actually have one female that I think is gravid right now, so we'll see what happens with that. That'd be really cool.
Nice.
And then we have the westerns, and then I have a Mojave green. And that dude is one of the chillest in this room. He won't even take live. He eats frozen thawed. Doesn't even want live. Won't do it.
Nice.
It was the craziest thing.
I don't want to. I mean, of course you feed live if you have to, but
yeah,
I try to make sure that everything that I keep is on frozen thawed because it's just so much more convenient. You know,
it is 100%. I hate feeding live because we've got so many. So deep freezers all the way it makes life so much easier than having to have all these racks and then trying to feed all of it.
You've had those times where you get your rodents and you just don't feel like doing it that day, but you don't got a choice. You know what I mean? You're just like,
because if you leave them where they're at, they're going to eat their way out or something.
It's going to be a freaking mess. Yeah.
That would be a nightmare. Yeah, no, that's my thing. So I do the frozen thawed. It makes life so much easier. Especially for the big monsters up there where she's messing with the light again. That's a 13-foot Burmese who eats 4-pound pigs.
Nice.
But that's just one of our big snakes. All the other ones are in my other room. I have 2 reptiles rooms. I have this one and I have my bedroom. And my bedroom is literally reptiles on every single wall and down the middle, and then my bed's off in the corner.
Yeah, we have our green tree monitors in our bedroom. I don't know if I like that though.
Yeah, the only time you're gonna worry about it is with something, or if you forget to lock a cage, like my wife, and you have a big ass snake crawl up on your bed in the middle of the night at like 3-4 a.m.
That would be a little awkward, huh?
She is okay. So there at that time there was 3 big snakes in there, and I had 2 chances. I either had 2 really good snakes that I'd be okay with, or Lucy got out. And if Lucy got out, somebody's getting bit, and it's most likely me. So Lucy is a 18-foot retic who hates the world. Her name is Lucy for a reason. It's Lucifer, or just Lucy short for Lucifer. She was neglected a lot when we got her. Like they kept her in a really large sterilite tub, and then they tried to tell me that it was just for transport, but there was that much at the bottom caked of urates and like smushed down packed urate, and then that much more on top of that was shed, and she had stuck shed on her. So I was like, that didn't just happen. And it took her like 15 minutes to stretch out because you could tell she'd been like stuck in that coil for so long that it took her so she was just so slow to stretch and actually like completely come out. It was insane.
It just sucks though because those keepers are ruining it for everyone else that actually.
This dude, I don't think this guy's getting back into reptiles. We ended up I picked up 2 snakes that day from him. He thought he was getting $600 for them. They both had mites and were respiratory, and I thought they were like I thought the one was gonna die. And so I was like, dude, I'm leaving with these things, but I'm not paying you a damn thing. And he's like, oh, I'll call the cops. Like, you call him because you're going to jail for animal cruelty.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh, dude, it got it. Like, we got into it like bad. And they ended up leaving. And I ended up coming home with both snakes, and now they're great. One's super friendly, and the other one's like, yeah, I'm gonna eat you.
Yeah.
But like she has to have her glass has to be covered because she will strike if she sees you come by. So, and I want her to break. I don't want.
They have the ability to break the glass. They're strong, man.
She's stupid strong. Like she had a heat panel on the back, so like the ventilation panel. She found out that she could bend those because they're aluminum, and she used her coil to completely bust it out and try to break out of there. But she's so fat that she got stuck. So I had to help her like get back in, but I had to fix that, and I was like, okay, well, we're reinforcing those. No more aluminum for you.
I mean, I love all reptiles, right? But I've really narrowed it down to like, what do I love? And the thing that I've always keep falling into is I like to see arboreal snakes, right? When you pull the tub out or whatever, I don't want to look under a rock or a hide and try to find my snake. I want to know where it is.
Right.
So that's kind of why I've been drawn to the arboreal species, and that's why
they're
if I
more
want
like
venomous,
out there.
Yeah, that's what I would do too. The big snakes and stuff, they're cool. I don't want to say this because I don't know. I don't like to put this kind of energy out there, but I know it's unfortunate because there's so many keepers that are doing this the wrong way. I think that those are going to be the first on the chopping block. It'll be large constrictors and hots, and that's sad because they take that stuff away from us. It's just a matter of time before they start taking the rest.
Nope, 100%. I mean, it's just like out here. I mean, Nerd shares this video constantly. But there was a lady who bought a store up in Tucson, Arizona, and she had there was her, one other guy that was supposed to help her, and then the camera guy. Now, her first story to everybody was that she was trying to show how to educate people with big snakes.
Oh, I saw that video. Yeah.
Where she got bit in the arm, and the dude like had to go over there. Not to mention, it was a full-on feeding response from the top, and then on top of that, it's not 4 feet from where a freaking rat rack is. So you got it right next to where it's constantly smelling like food.
Well, the way that the snake came up too, like any experienced snake person knows when a snake comes up to you like that in that aspect, just like that, you need to turn that mode off somehow. Tap distract their attention. That's a
you gotta rub the head. You gotta break that concentration of whatever
snap them out of it, because that's all their tunnel vision right now is like, I smell food, everything is food.
Yep.
Yeah,
so come to find out, after the camera guy was the one that leaked it, stating like what really happened. Yeah, she knew it was gonna bite her, and that's why she had the person on the hand, the person recording, and even while he was recording, he's like, "Hey, do you want me to stop recording and help you?" She's like, "No, keep going." And it was all for views. She did it all for views. And I kid you not, a month after that happened, within that month, we had Fish and Game trying to come up with propose a bill to the state to get them to ban big snakes. Anything that can get over 10 feet. They wanted it to be deemed unsafe for the public unless you have a educator's license or a zoological permit.
Yeah. Where I live here in Washington State, I live on an island called Whidbey, and Island County, you cannot have. So we call it the city limits, but it's a small town, and we can't keep constrictors over 10 feet here either, or hots.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, it makes sense though. There's so much that has gone on that you know the one bad. All it takes is one bad apple to ruin it all for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all it takes. Like it took everybody to literally like get her to take that photo or that video down, and like we had that video down within like 3 hours of it being posted, but by then it was already trending and people had downloaded the video to reshare it.
Viral.
Yeah, it was gone. By the time she deleted it, it was already like too far gone. And she ended up, from my understanding, she ended up selling the store to somebody else because like nobody would go and support her store. At least like the reptile people out here wouldn't go. So she just had like the novice that needed like, wanted to check it out just to check it out. And it wasn't
like
enough.
a novice trying to get the snake out,
Yeah.
And yeah. I don't try to put people down, but when you're trying to show people how to do something and you're not well versed in it, it just doesn't make for a good show.
It works. It's when you do that, it makes it worse than anything else. It was insane to see that, and then you get people are like, oh, you shouldn't post bite videos or anything like that, but then they reshare that video is insane. But no. Oh, my wife moved my paper. I found it.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah. What's the next question? That's question 3, right?
What was your first reptile?
Very first reptile. I was 8 years old, and my mom got me a red-eared slider because she wouldn't give me snakes. She would not give me snakes, but she gave me mice, and I bred the mice. And she gave me a red-eared slider, and then I had some common tree frogs. I can't remember exactly which kind they were, but they just called them common tree frogs back then.
Lucky man, my mom never got me no reptiles. She's turtles stink, snakes scare me. Can't have nothing.
Well, I mean, she knew how I was, since the beginning. She saw it in my eyes how I loved these critters, and I didn't have the internet like we have now, so I couldn't just do the research like I make my kids do before they get their pets. So I was, trying to get books and stuff from the library, and she knew that I had a passion because she's like, you hate reading, but you're wanting books, She's like, so I'll support this, whatever it is.
What's sad is I don't like reading either, but if it's something reptile related, my wife will get it for me knowing that I'm going to read it.
That's the same. I mean, I'm the same way. Like I've just learned as I've gotten older, I don't like to read fictional stories. I like to read informational, teach me something. If I'm going to learn something from what I'm reading, I'll read it. So
no, for sure. That's how I am, like if it's something that pertains to my interest and it's something I can learn from, I'm down.
Yeah,
I'm down to read some. Yep. As long as it's interesting to me, I'm cool with it. But if it comes up to something else, I'm like,
no. But like my wife, she's her and her friend Chuck's wife. They send books back to each other all the time. Like, oh, I read this one, read that one, and they're reading it in like 2 or 3 days, and I'm like, I would never read a storybook like that.
That's my
can't
wife.
Do that, man. I can't.
She's 100% down like that. She's got 4 storage totes, like the really big, heavy-duty gray ones.
Yeah.
She's got 4 of them full of books, and she's like, "Yep, I've read every single one of those." And like she just overnight, she just sits there and reads them, and she'll do it. She even does it on her phone. She gets, and it's not like little books, it's big old books. No. She just sits there, and even like on their phone, most people are sitting there watching videos and stuff. She's reading books on her phone.
Yeah, no, I'll kill an audiobook.
Yeah, same. That's me, dude. I'm like, dude, I'll play an audiobook or like for you, like if somebody's doing something educational on like YouTube, I'll throw it up on my phone and I'll listen to it, and I'm cleaning reptiles.
They do dumb voices in audiobooks. That's why I don't listen to them.
Shit, I thought I was about to get attacked. She just come in here like, how dare you talk about books? Can't get me right now.
Everyone's different, But yeah, I mean, I wish I could enjoy a story like that. I don't know, maybe too much anxiety or something. My kids wish I could just sit down and play video games with them too, but I just have a hard time doing that too.
See, I can't wait until my kids are older and want to play video games with me and actually can. Yeah. I'm so down. I've been a gamer since I was a kid, so like I did tournaments and stuff. So like that's something I love.
Like my kids, like if they want something, like I try to make them work for it and appreciate it, but they have all the like, you know, the Oculus and the new Xbox, and they have an old Xbox they have in their room with a projector and like a huge screen, you know, like they're spoiled with that stuff, but I try to limit it, you know, because they get sucked into it. Yeah, there's my wife right now. Hey, gorgeous.
It's funny because when my wife walked in, I could see a ton of words on her thing, so I know she's reading out there too. So she's just reading on her phone.
That looks like too many words for me.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, who are you typing an essay to? She's like, no, it's a book. She's like, mind your own business. Look at your own phone.
That's funny.
So what is your favorite species to work with?
Hands down, favorite species, Corallus hortulanus, Amazon tree boa.
I like it. I'm excited to see what you come up with in the next like 2-3 years.
Yep.
Because you've intrigued my interest now when it comes to this species again. Like I said, I have some, but
wait. If you think, okay, like it's a mix between ball pythons and green tree pythons, and it's like right in the middle. Mm-hmm. Give it 10 years, and you'll look back at this conversation and be like, I should have just jumped on that wagon.
I mean, hey, man, dude, right now. I might. I've like I said, I've got a few as it is, and you know, we always look at them. Like I get them on my list from time to time. You know, and it's mostly like the tigers or the garden phase, things like that. Sure. And you know, and I had some tigers, but I ended up selling them. But we've got a few left. But like I said, when I bred them, I sat on them forever. I took them to expos. I even tried wholesaling them. Nobody wanted them. You
have to draw. So people are drawn to bright colors. Like, so what the species that I've kept, I've gone to my non-snake, non-reptile friends, and I say, what do you think about this? And they say, that's weird. Or they say, wow, that's really pretty. What is that? When they say that's really pretty, what is that? Those are the animals I want to keep. And the reason being is because that's how you draw new people into the hobby, is by showing them that thing that intrigued them in the beginning, there's way more behind it that they even realize. And then you can start opening that conversation with them. The Amazon tree boas, hands down, they're going to change the snake game. And people that are doing ball pythons, they're trying to jump ship right now because they can't sell snakes and they're doing this for money.
Nope.
Watch.
I'm seeing more and more of that right now. Is like this. I think this last year, I've seen, this past, let's say last 6 months, I think I've seen more people sell out of their collection of ball pythons than I've have in the past 18 years of me doing this.
Yeah, it's because we had a boom with the COVID. So everyone thought that, you know, that's how the snake industry was, and that's not necessarily how it is. You know, like when I got into this, even when I did, people just thought I was a weird kid, you know? They just thought, oh, that's the guy that likes the weird reptiles. And even, dude, even up until probably like 2015, people still really didn't look at it the same way.
Right.
And then people started transitioning. Like when I got back in the hobby in 2018, people were like, you have snakes? That's kind of cool. And I was like, what? You know, like it took me back a little bit. Like, what do you mean that's pretty cool?
I get that so much, like, because my parents did not like. So I used to be a construction guy.
Sure.
I was a foreman. I had my own crew. I did demolition, rebuild, the whole 9 yards. I could build a house ground up.
Yeah.
I hated doing it. I like doing the demo part, mostly because when I was bored, I get to go through. I go to work angry, and I come home tired but happy because I got to do like a Kool-Aid man through a wall or something.
It's hard labor, man.
It is, and so like I had a couple accidents at work. Like this just when you work with some unsafe people, dude, there's always something like bound to be an accident.
I've
And
been in
one of the ones,
construction for 16 or 17 years, and I've had a major back surgery and 2 knee surgeries already because I'm 6'4".
damn, dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're 3 inches taller than I am.
Yes, like 6'4", 240 pounds. Like I'm a bigger dude too.
You got me on height, but I got you on weight. But no, like, okay, so you'll get this more than anybody. I had a really bad accident. So it was one of those homes that what is it, like the three houses combined in one. It's not an apartment, but they have condo.
Condos.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
A condo.
Townhomes.
So yeah, so there's 3 of them combined, and they're all split apart, but they're all like still like smushed together. They all have their own car garages, and then above is the actual house. Well, the middle one had a line burst, and it traveled the beams, and basically just flooded out all 3 of them. And they had the super big, like thick tiles, like the roofing tiles. And when those get full of water, they get heavier. Boom!
Right.
So we were supposed to dry up everything, demo it all out, and then.
Did you work for a mitigation company?
So we were working for. I used to work for MCS, which is Master Content Services. Basically, they were like contracted through content. They were so like they were contracted through like Blue Sky, and the Blue Sky people. They're the ones that do like the Starbucks remodels, the McDonald's remodels, Panera, and like certain home contracts.
Yeah, well, I specialize in insurance restoration, so a lot of that stuff's familiar to me.
And so that was what we were doing. Well, that day, I was supposed to go handle a Starbucks remodel. And they ended up overbooking crews for that remodel because it was a smaller Starbucks than it was supposed to be. Somebody messed up on paperwork apparently, and so they ended up sending me and another guy over, and we used to call him Pops because that dude was old. And so we called him Pops. And the dude that we were working with was a Blue Sky worker. This dude legitimately was dropping tiles on top of us to get them to hurt us because he just was being a dick.
Wow.
And he legitimately dropped a 4-foot tile, completely soaked. All it needed was a poke, and this thing was coming down, right? He completely poked it and dropped it right on top of Pops. And that dude is like 100 pounds soaking wet. He's a skinny old guy. And he took it like a champ. He got up, and I was like, dude, you okay? He's like, yeah. Hey, where's my hammer? I was like, right there. Why? I had to grab that old man and walk him out of there because this dude that grabbed the hammer and went after the guy because he was pissed. It's like the 4th time he hit us with tiles. He was just being a dickhead. Well, basically what it was is this was his first major job, and nobody, like, we've been doing this for years. We know what we're doing. It's the same protocol. Demo out the stuff that needs to be demoed, clean it up, and make sure it's ready for when they can actually get in there and do the putback
for the rebuild. Yeah.
Yep. And so like it's the same thing. This dude was like, no, you need to do this, you need to do that. Like he was like one of those, like he has to be in control. And so like we weren't doing anything that we haven't ever done before. Like we know how to get it done. And he didn't like that. So, and since nobody was really listening to him, his thing was, I'm in control. Boom, knock out some beams and try or knock on like some of it and try to knock some stuff down to just make it worse, to like more of a cleanup and everything else, because we didn't even get to lay out the plastic yet. So that way we can knock out all the stuff, roll up the plastic, and clean it out.
Yeah, burritoed out.
Yeah, and that's what we were gonna do, and so we didn't even get to do that yet. He was just dropping them and making more of a mess, so that way it was 10 times more work. And so that dude was just being a dickhead. He ended up dropping one on my head and messed up my neck, and he ended up
fired.
Yeah. Well, so I called his boss. He got fired, but like at that point, I quit. Like I was like, dude, I told my guy, he's like, no, you need to get it done. I'm like, he's hurting my guy. I'm sending him home. I'm like, he already hurt me. I'm like, I'm done. And my guy was like, my dude, he basically was like, nope. He's like, if you guys don't get it done, you're not getting paid for the day. And we had been there for like 7 hours already. So I was like, whatever. I was like, hey, this is what he said. This is what's going on. Pop's like, I retire. I'm done. Fuck this. So he left. And then I ended up quitting. I told my wife, and I was like, you know what? I like working with the reptiles. I like doing this. We make decent on the side as a hustle. What if I do this full time?
Yeah.
It's something I wanted to do since I was a kid. What do you think about it? And so that's what we started doing. And so this is now my full-time thing. And my parents, I think, like my dad told me like he didn't want nothing to do with me. God, it was a stupid dream, blah 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 blah, right? Same with my mom, super unsupportive about it, 100% against it. Was like, you're gonna, you'll be drowning in debt. That's not a real job, blah blah blah. I'm not saying I'm rolling in money and I'm rich, but we get by.
Right.
I make
That's
just
awesome.
it took a while to be able to make the business, like sustain itself.
Are you an LLC or like a sole proprietor?
I'm LLC.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So is
I
your
had to
wife partners on that too then, or?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
and so she's a big help with it. And so she does all the paperwork and everything else side, and I'm more of a, I know what things sell for, and I know how to breed it and take care of it and make sure it don't die.
Yeah, you do the fun stuff.
Yeah, I do the fun thing, and she's more like, yeah, it's your thing, and she
wants
she's
to
got
make
her
sure
own
you're
job.
gonna thrive. Yeah.
Yeah, so she helps me out. She's smarter than I am.
That's a good
I'm the
woman,
crazy
though.
guy that's dumb enough to mess with reptiles. She's the one that's smart enough to, deal with paperwork.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a good woman.
But so no, I definitely get it. When people are like, oh well, you have reptiles is what you do. Like that's that it changed just recently for my parents. Like, oh hey, well, what new reptiles you get? What are you doing? How is this? I saw you on YouTube the other day. Like, I get that now, and it's like night and day difference from like when I first started doing this to now.
Oh yeah, people ask me all the time. Like, you probably get it too. Like, who would even buy those, and who would even pay that much? And it's so when I go to shows, I like to like scan the whole show and be like, I guess these people would come here. It looked like 8,000 people walked through the door today.
I think I think the number one question I get the most when I tell people I have reptiles, what do you do with it? Do they just slither around in your house?
Yeah, and I have to respond with, what do you do with fish? You know what I mean? We've been keeping fish for a lot longer, and it's the same thing. No. It's like, yeah. So what do you get out of it? I'm like, well, for one, I don't have to. Like, I love my dogs, but sometimes I come home from work and I'm stressed the hell out. I don't want them all over me. Like I need some space. That's my personality.
Nope.
And with the reptiles, I don't have to give them the attention that you do for mammals. Like you're not forced into that as much. You can kind of do things at your own pace as long as you're kind of on a, somewhat of a schedule.
Right.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
I love reptiles, man. It's easy.
It's so easy. I mean, as long as they don't need that interaction with us, right. certain animals, it benefits them a lot. Doing this, like the crazy Savannah going nuts behind me. I don't know if you guys can see him. He's scratching the crap out of the glass.
What's his name?
So his name is Gluttony.
Gluttony, yeah, because of the worms.
Yeah, Gluttony. Well, he killed literally like 2 big old things of double cupped worms in one sitting. So he had over 30-40 worms, and he just ate them all and was like, I'm still hungry. Legitimately tried to bite me to eat more. He was super fat. And it was funny. Well, the only reason I knew he double cupped it is I fed him, and then my wife came in here and fed him, thinking that I didn't feed him because he's acting like this. And I'm like, dude, I already fed him. She's like, no way. She's like, he's still hungry. He's just a baby. His belly's super extended. He's super fat. Like but he still wants more. So yeah, that's Gluttony.
Yeah, but you want to, if you want him to live longer though, just give him some rest days.
No, he eats once every few.
That's perfect.
I don't.
That's
yeah.
Perfect.
I don't try. I don't want to get him too fat.
Yeah, you know how monitors are, man. Like they'll eat
especially him. He's prone to fatty liver disease.
Yeah.
So I gotta watch him out because like I said, like a reason I make him work for his food is I don't want him to get obese. Like right. I got him, he was already pretty solid.
Yeah, but he's not horrible, man. I've seen some footballs before.
Oh yeah. There's
Yeah.
one right now that I see on TikTok from time to time. The dude goes live here, and I'll see him sometimes when I'm like just scrolling through.
Yeah.
And like I'm not I basically he banned me from his live because I was like, dude, that is super unhealthy. Like he's sitting there, and I kid you not, he fed this thing an entire set of chicken liver and chicken hearts and chicken gizzards and just a whole set of it and just put it on a
Wow.
plate and just put it in there, and this thing is just gulping it down and inhaling the food, and you can see like that thing is a freaking football. Like it is
Yeah.
bad. I'd almost say it's a basketball because this thing was almost a
Mhm.
full like length.
Yeah, I was gonna
But-
say I've seen them get huge too, but I don't think they get that big in the wild.
No,
I
and
don't
that's
think so.
the thing is, so they get really long in the wild, but the way
They're
they come
thin.
in like imports, they're thin, they're slender.
Yeah.
Like some of them like I've dealt with quite a few imports. Some of them come in like this, and
Right.
those are the ones have been eating really really well in the wild.
Right.
And like this one, I know this is an import, 100% an import. And
But how old is he about? You know.
this one's about 2 years old, just
Okay.
about. I wouldn't say any older than 2 years.
Okay.
And so he's probably only been in captivity for maybe 6 to 8 months. And so you can tell like the difference when they come in and stuff, like certain things like the toes, the tail,
Right.
certain ways they come in. Like if you get babies, like import babies,
Mhm.
a lot of those aren't going to be like super food driven the way this one is for certain bugs. So like if you look up the certain bugs that they like normally eat or find out in the wild, if you show or get some of those like worms, for instance,
Mhm.
you find, or if you get a savanna monitor that is literally cuckoo for a worm, it's because they found them in the wild, or they're just that's what you would giving them a lot of.
Right.
But this one here, you can tell like there's certain things like he won't touch because he just doesn't care for it. But if you start showing him more things that you would find in the wild out there, like even like African soft furs, it is a completely different reaction to him when I bring in like mice, because I have to get.
What has he refused before?
He refuses certain roaches. Like he won't touch red runners. He won't touch
Me neither.
yeah, right. He'll eat dubia sometimes, but the Madagascar hissing cockroaches and stuff, like he'll eat them. If he hasn't eaten in a while, he'll eat those.
They're so pokey though. I bred those for a while too.
Yeah, I have a ton of them. I have a buddy of mine dropped off 75 of them, and I've been feeding them off.
Man. I love dubia.
I like dubia. I like dubia. They're way easier. The hissers, though, I kid you not, I had 75 hissers. I start feeding them off to him, and I kid you not, I'm now sitting at over 300 and something hissers because they breed
fast.
that crazy.
I just don't like roaches that can climb plastic. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
it's a real thing.
My thing was I had a dubia and I didn't know these things had wings. And I know they can't fly, but I didn't know they had wings.
Flutter.
Yeah, they can flutter and scare the hell out of you. I'm over here. I almost kicked over a bin with like 300 in there.
Oh
because
my
it
god!
Fluttered out, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And
you live in Arizona, like up here, it's cooler, Like you don't see cockroaches as often up here, but like I've lived in California and Texas and Florida, and they're everywhere.
Yeah, they
like the southern tropical temps.
So, let's see. What is your favorite morph?
Within which species?
That whatever popped in your head when I asked.
Calico Amazon tree boas.
I like it and the reason I say, because I leave that so open, because when I ask people just that, don't ask the species. When I ask it, there's always first thing that pops in your head, and it's like the crazy. It's something you like really really like. But if I was to say, what's your favorite species or favorite morph of ball pythons?
Sure. I'm gonna be confused.
And it leaves you to just that species. When you hear favorite morph, you're like, oh, I really like this one.
Mm-hmm. And so I'll say that too with the calico, that right now we're trying to figure out, is red and calico the same thing, or can we separate those two from each other? I have two animals here. One of them's on breeding loan from Dan McMillan, but we think that we have yellow calicos, but we need to prove it out first.
So this is the first time I'm adding this question on, and I think you would be the perfect person for this question.
Okay.
If you could make any reptile, whether it's whether it's the chondros or anything else like that, if you could add any morph, say if you pulled a morph from ball pythons, if you could add that morph into any species that doesn't have that morph already, what would it be and why?
Piebald. I would put that into Amazon tree boas.
That would be cool looking. I think like a cow retake type look.
Exactly.
That would be really cool.
I mean, I'd love to see an all black snake or all white snake. But I think there's a lot of problems with those genetics, and other species have proven that to us. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's just a question I thought up the other day. I was like, you know what? That is actually a really interesting question. I was like, my thing was, I would. What if I could have like a pied or an albino form of a croc monitor?
Sure.
How like like what would like I was like, I've always wondered what would that look like in like an albino and a croc monitor.
Yeah.
Because they already have super yellow dots on them. Would they look anything similar to the Asian water, or would it go a completely different way?
Yeah, because the pattern's different too.
Yep.
They have much more patterns, and they're darker colors, so the absence of that black would leave a more like orangish yellow look, kind of like the black pastel ball pythons when you breed them to albinos. Yep,
the black pastel albino. Yep. And that's why I was like, I wondered if that's what it would look like, is something like that. And I thought that was just something super crazy. And I was like, you know what?
That would be really
ask
cool.
People this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Let's see. What is your most anticipated pairing or hatching for this season?
This season I'm trying to breed those yellow calicos. The female just came in 2 weeks ago, so she's still kind of in quarantine right now. So hopefully I can start pairing them up here. I want to get them paired up by March, but I just want to make sure she's tip top first. And then hopefully I can get them going, but if not, I'll get them going next year. But that's my most anticipated for this season. I'm letting the Dominicans take this season off.
Right on. So, that actually brings us to another question. A lot of people's quarantine is completely different. So how do you quarantine your animals?
It depends on the animal and where I have room for it. So I tell people this, right? You got to be realistic. When you're keeping pets, you're not going to have a freaking quarantine room. You're not going to have a freaking whole other, like, you don't always have that opportunity and that option. You want to try to do the best you can.
Right.
And the very first thing I always tell people to do is when you get your first animal, okay, if you already have a collection established, never just take the box in there. Like, start in a different room, open the animal, and get the animal soaking first. And if you have the opportunity to quarantine in a different room, obviously that's the best method. And then you always service those animals on different days or last in different tongs.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the opportunity, what you want to do in your reptile room, you can still do this, but you need to be aware that there's still potential for, mites or whatever, so you have to take those precautions going into it. So like with this female, I didn't have any quarantine opportunity for another room right now. So she's in here because I know the guy and I've been to his collection. I actually went to his house to pick the animal up, but she's still in quarantine here, right? She's in a rack that's the furthest away from everyone. She has a sterile system right now. She's being cleaned more regularly, but only on days I'm not working with the rest of my collection. And that's just how it is until I can. And there's animals in here that I have, like Ryan Young has taught me this. It's like a method to feeding, right? You have animals that have been in your collection and you know that they're the cleanest. You start with those animals and you work out to the imports, right? So you always start with your animals that you bred there, and then you feed their parents, and then you feed the ones that have actually come in from other people last, always.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like it because the way mine is like I said, I have 2 reptile rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, like, certain depends on where it comes from, and like things like that, like who I get them from. If I trust the person, then sometimes I'll bring things in here, especially if I've been in their collection, I know what they've got, things like
We've
that.
all done it. Yeah, people like to throw the, but we've all done it.
And so that's one thing. But for the most part, if I don't know the person, I've never seen your collection, and you just had a really cool animal that I wanted. My kids' room is actually my quarantine room, their closet. So they have a pretty big closet that they don't ever use. And if they did, they would just store more toys into it, so they don't even know they have one until I go in there. But that's actually my quarantine room is actually in there. So
that's exactly what I've done too. Is my bedroom itself. I have extra racks and extra cages in my storage shed. And when I have a new animal come in, I just usually set something little up in my bedroom. But I just didn't feel the need I had to do that. I just took the precautions with this animal. I knew it was healthy. I just wanted to make sure there was nothing external going on, as well as making sure the animal was healthy, defecating, shedding, and eating properly first. Those are my, making sure it's even a good candidate for breeding. People need to realize that too.
Right.
Just because you want to breed the species doesn't mean those animals are going to be fit for those breeding projects. My male green tree python, I produced in 2012. He was looking great, and I was moving him between 2 females this season. He was breeding both of them. One of the females bit him, and he's been recovering, but he's been hanging the bottom of his tail. So it's kind of worrying me. So I pulled him from the breeding program in the season. That's part of it, man. That's just part of these things. You have to make those decisions, conscious decisions to do what's right for the animal.
For sure.
But that's kind of my long drawn out quarantine situation.
No, I like it. I like it. Mine's more like the way I do it is if I add anything new, it goes into the quarantine room, and if there's anything in quarantine, that whole room gets re-upped. So my quarantine is actually really long. I do at least 3 months.
Sure. I think people should do at least 3 months for a new animal coming into your collection. You won't be able to tell anything. You may not even have 2 sheds within that time frame. You know what I mean? So it needs to.
My thing's more, and then it's funny you bring up the shed, because that's my thing. Is it's either 3 months or 2 shed cycles, and whatever comes last.
Yep.
And so, if I add anything new between that time, it goes right into that quarantine room, and then that whole time restarts.
Start the time over.
Yep. And so
you have a ton of animals coming in, because you're probably wholesaling and stuff too. But what I'm doing is I'm just trying to build my collection. So when I first rebuilt my collection, that's what I did first. Is I reached out to Cam and Joe Swatowski, and I said, this is what I need. This is what I'm looking for. And I knew what I was going to get. People complain about those guys all the time, but I'm like, you guys have to realize when you buy imports, you're going to get what you get. That's just how it works.
You get B grade. Sometimes you get some really, really good ones, but often you get, B or C grade, which is basically sometimes they've got mites, sometimes there's an internal parasite, sometimes missing toes.
But the thing is, if you don't freak out, usually any of those guys, they've taken care of me. If I just said, this is the situation, this is what's going on, they either replace it or give me a deal on the next go around. But that's just kind of how it is.
No, for sure. And that's why I like going through some of the wholesalers I go through, is if anything comes in that's like over import, they test it there before it's left. So they'll test to make sure that there's no, they do their own in-home test. to make sure that like they'll take a fecal sample, whatever, and check to see if there's any internal parasites.
Yeah.
And if there is, they treat it before it leaves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate. You know, I have a few vet friends over here that if I need anything, they'll, one of them, she's an equine vet, but she'll actually come to my house if I need something and check on the animals and, help me medicate them. And I can go to her, barn if I need to get them ultrasounded and stuff like that too. So it works out pretty well.
Nice.
Yeah.
I want to get an ultrasound machine, but I haven't. It's been 18 years doing this, and I still haven't had one. So I'm like, do I really need one?
No,
like,
Ryan Young calls it cheating.
Something new.
Ryan Young calls it cheating.
Yeah.
So dude, that guy, right? His goal is to breed 50 species of pythons. He's at 35 already.
Nice.
35 species. If you want to get a guy to talk, that is the guy.
I'm about to say I might have to message him. I want to learn.
there's teach me guys, right? Nick Mutton, you can ask one question, and this guy will talk more than me.
Nice.
Ryan, you will have to have questions lined up because he's more introverted.
Okay.
So, but he'll talk if
and that's one thing I tell people with. That's something I tell people with these lives is you make the live, you know. So like I can ask you, like I said, I can ask you one question and it can be a couple word answer and we move on to the next one, or like this one where we're I love talking with you. Your passion is amazing. I love what you work with, and you're very passionate about what you work with. So like we're close to the bottom now, and we're now at 2 hours.
There you go.
So like like I said, like there's some of our lives will go for an hour or 30 minutes. It just depends to how long you're willing to talk and really how long or like how much of your passion you really want to show about what you work with. And so like that's so like I love having you on. What you're talking about with your animals, I love how passionate you are about what you work with. This has been I've learned a lot already, so I appreciate you jumping on with me.
Yeah, but I'm the same way, man. Like it doesn't matter how long I've been in this game. Like I want to learn every single day of my life.
Yep.
Teach me something.
That is my thing. Is I've been doing this 18 years. I never claim I'm an expert. I don't know everything. There is no one right way to do anything. Everybody does something in their own way, and it works for them. That's why I like doing these interviews and bringing some people on that, even if you work with the same species, there could be something that you do that's different from how this person does it. And you both get the same result, but for the either myself or some of my viewers, if they want to work with that, they can do what they'll have multiple options that'll either work for them or it won't work for them.
Right.
So it's things like that. So I love doing this. I learn something new every day, and at the end of the day, that's kind of my goal is to learn something.
Yep. Exactly.
So, as a breeder.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Sorry, I might have cut out my internet. I ended up having an issue. What is your goal as a breeder?
My goal is to spread awareness about species that aren't readily available in the hobby, as well as creating my own line, bloodline.
Ooh, I like it.
I like it. So I need to go back to that last question too, because you asked me about like quarantine stuff, but that's how I got my animals first. Is I got all my imports first, made sure that those ones were good, and then I started getting one animal in at a time.
Oh, they're demanding you.
Okay, tell them that I will
I've already told them that you're busy.
Okay. Sorry.
Good?
Don't interrupt the live.
No, I'm good. No, so there's a live on Instagram, and now I know why my Instagram has been blowing up. and they're trying to get me on Instagram right now.
Is that
I was like,
Tucker over there?
I'm busy. No, Chandra's over here. He's still in the chat. They've got a few people on there. They've got MG Geckos, RKA, my buddy Brian from JTK.
No,
I don't know what they're. I think they're just doing a hangout live.
Oh, okay. I know Tucker Wester was going on live earlier. I didn't know if he was still up or not.
I think that's. Does he have emerald tree boas?
Green tree pythons.
Okay, somebody looked like he had an emerald tree boa or something. She showed me for a second, and I was like, "That's something tree. It's green." Yeah, I was like, "What is that?" And then she just walked away. I was like, "Okay," but it's all good. I'm not rushing. We're doing our thing over here. They can do their thing. I'll be over there in a minute.
No worries.
I'm enjoying this. So as you were saying with the quarantine.
Mm-hmm. No, I was just saying, like, I got my imports first, right? I kind of picked through those ones, sold the ones I didn't want, found the females that I want. I know they're imports. I know they're clean. They've been in my collection since 2018. This is how I'm going to start my line, right? And things are popping out of these. Like, I'm getting Amazons that, okay, well, these look like a normal, just run-of-the-mill yellow to some people. But to me, this is a potential for an IMG gene, or this is a potential for a granite gene, or this is a potential for something else, you know? So I'm doing those dinker projects with an Amazon tree boa.
So could you by chance do any genetic testing like they do for like morphs on ball pythons?
Once the morphs
where they take like a DNA sample and they check it out?
Because what they have to do is they have to establish that base first, right? So they have to have a lot of samples first to say, this is what it is. Like, this is a red. We know that, right? So maybe tiger. Well, tiger's dominant, so you're always going to get that. It's kind of hard to say. Like the leucistic right now, we're still trying to figure out, like, that's incomplete dominant. I think it's recessive. I don't think the hypos that, you know, because it says hypo to hypo makes a leucistic, and that's like the worst terminology ever because it doesn't technically make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
No,
because a hypo takes two to create a hypo. So a hypo to a hypo, you would think just make a normal, or just would make hypo. But a hypo to hypo making Lucy, wouldn't it just be better to name it something else?
Yeah, they should be named Het Lucy. You know, and that's kind of what we're coming to, because we've realized, you know, Chris McQuaid over at GCR Reptiles was the first one to coin the term hypo and leucistic for the Amazon tree boas. And his hypos, he kept picking out the brightest yellow ones, thinking that those were the ones that carried the gene. He sold ones that looked ugly, and he didn't realize later on that those ones also carried the gene. So when people tell me that, I said, it's recessive, guys. The reason he couldn't tell them apart as babies is because it's recessive. So, I mean, we still need to do work with it and actually prove these things out. We can just have theories. You know, I like to bounce stuff, you know, on guys that know more than me, and see if we can come up with some kind of theory and then kind of put that in motion.
For sure. No, I'm excited to see how this goes and how that works out. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna talk to you more about it at some point, like on a later date.
Yeah. Absolutely.
For sure, want to talk to you about it because that's something I would like to get into.
Yeah.
Even if I would love to learn more about it. Mm-hmm. Even if we could do something to where, if we were to bring on some, like even just like yourself and a couple other breeders that work with this and kind of talk about it a little more in depth, like, okay, hey, this is what this is, this is what this is.
So
this is what we're trying to prove out.
There is, I can't say like who it is. I don't know if they want me to yet, but it's one of, you know, they do a lot of podcasts, and they've actually already asked us to do like a Amazon roundtable, but you guys can still do something else as well. Like, I like to talk Amazon, so if you guys want to talk about it, probably next month there'll be a podcast related to some of those.
Yeah, I mean, even if somebody else does it, I mean, there's always room there. I mean, everybody's got their own platform, different, you know, viewers and things. So even if it's something like a few months out to talk about it, That's
down to
still,
talk about
gives
it
you guys
again.
more time for sure.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up, Moon? Appreciate you, bro. But let's see.
Hello.
So I've only got a couple more questions for you because I know you've got we've been on here for a while.
It's all good, man.
Um,
You asked me to come on, I'm committed.
I love it, dude. I appreciate you jumping on. I think the most the most precious thing you can give somebody is your time.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate everybody that's in the chat that's sitting here and watching us and giving us their time, and you yourself jumping on and sharing your passion with us for the past 2 hours means a lot to me. So thank you again for doing this and jumping
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me.
on. So let's see. If you had the chance to own one or a pair of any reptiles, say you had the permits, the experience needed, the housing, everything, and why?
Any animal, even if it's not like in the hobby, or
Even if it's not reptile, even if it's not reptile, or even if it's not like in the U.S. as of yet.
I see. The thing is,
I'll
like,
even expand this. It can be over or not more than reptiles. It can be birds, mammal, anything.
I don't want birds. I've had birds. They're horrible.
Bird instantly got shot down.
I think what I would talk about is probably Cropani. It's Corallus cropani. It's like one of the most elusive tree boas out there that we have only seen a couple pictures of.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I've never heard of. That's actually really cool.
Related to Amazon tree boas and emerald tree boas and Ruschenbergeri and annulateds. The cropani.
Huh. Something I'm going to have to look up.
You're going to.
I've never heard of that.
Their scalation's really thick. They look a little bit different. It's kind of you have to see it. It doesn't look like any of the other ones.
Oh wow!
But they get larger, so I mean,
so
that's
it looks like it looks like something on its own. Like it looks nothing like its cousins type thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that it's probably distant related cousin. To me, it looks like Corallus had a baby with Chilobothris, which is like the West Indian boas, like Dominican, Jamaican, those kind of boas.
Dominican.
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks like those two species combined, but with like bigger head, bigger scales. They're really interesting looking.
That is super cool.
See, I'd probably get it and hate keeping it, though. That's the thing,
Right.
I just like keeping smaller species.
You like the smaller arboreal.
Yep, smaller arboreals. I can have a lot of them in a small room.
So I've only got 2 more questions for you, and this one I love asking this one. If you had had somebody who wanted to get into breeding and it came to you for advice, what would it be?
Be patient. Do your research. Take your time. I mean, that's really what it is you can't come into this just thinking, I'm going to make money off the bat. You're going to have to give yourself like 3 to 5 years to get established, at the minimum. And that's just 1 year alone is a long time for most people, when they've put money into something that they're trying to find a return on.
Oh.
So patience, that's the biggest one. And research. While 100%. You're waiting for something, do your research. Like before I even got into freshwater fish keeping, like I know I've done, dart frogs and paludariums and saltwater tanks, but I've never done actual freshwater planted tanks. I probably did research for a year before I even set up my first tank. And people are like, "This is your first tank?" And I'm like, "Well, I just did all the research first, But yeah. If you haven't seen it on my Instagram page, go check it out.
I'm gonna go check it out. I'm gonna go see it now. Like after I end this, I'm gonna go look.
Yeah, go check it out.
No, that's actually really cool. And I like the advice and 100% because the most common thing we see is people get into this thinking they're gonna make a ton of money, and then they're in it for a year or two and they don't receive a return, and the next thing you know, you're seeing them sell out their collection because they didn't make the money that they thought they would.
But the only one that suffers in that case is the animals.
I feel like that's what sucks. So that's why I like asking this question to different breeders, because
like people will even come to me, right? And they'll say, "Oh, what snakes do you have? I like those." And I'm like, "Well, stop. Let's wait a second." And I try to break it down like, "Okay, do you like snakes? How big of an enclosure do you have? How big are you willing to go? How much money are you willing to spend? How much time are you willing to put into these?" And then I start laying out different species that may be better suitable for them. I've had people come up to me at expos and they're like, "I want that on your table." And I start talking to them and I'm like, I don't think so. I think what you want is this. And I would like take them over to Jeff and Kendra's table and show them the ball pythons, or take them over, Puget Sound pythons, or take them over to Nick Mutton and say, this is the guy to talk to about carpet pythons, So trying to find what species is best suitable for an individual is the best way for longevity in this hobby.
100%. And it's, I love that you bring that up, because so like for Pomona, Anaheim, most of like the West California shows, myself, JTK Reptiles, John from Sims Containers, Don from Highlighter Chameleons, and a few other people, we get all together and we're doing a big island. So it's like 14 tables. And so this last Pomona, we had, quite a few different varieties on there. Brian had some ball pythons, some green trees, things like that. And then different tortoise species. I brought a couple different tortoise species, but I brought like more of the larger head because that's what I keep. So I brought sulcatas, and I think from what somebody told me, they said that my prices were cheaper than the most, but I sold the least amount of tortoises there because I didn't just let them go. I made sure that they knew what they were getting into. I sat there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, that tortoise isn't something that's going to be,
it's not a novelty item
now, but it's not going to get, it's not going to stay teeny tiny. Like, here's the adult. And I had an adult with me. I had the mom of those babies that were there. She was 150 pounds. It was a big female. I took her with us to the show. I actually sold her at the show too. Because I have a large group that I needed to cut down, because a lot of people in Arizona, they breed like crazy out here. And so a lot of people, they get them when they're babies, can't take care of them as adults. So then they drop them off on me. And so I started taking some of the ones that have been dropped off on us that have been here a while, and I took them up there. And I took her up there. And I was like, you know what? I think every show that we start vending, I'm going to take at least one large tortoise, even if I don't have it for sale.
Just so people can see,
so they can see this is what you're getting into. This is not something that's going to stay this tiny. This is something that you need to be prepared for. This is something that's going to go dig a giant hole in your ground. Like, are you prepared for a man-sized diving hole?
Yeah, we need more of that in the hobby.
And that was my thing. And
practical,
Well, and so one lady, she had just bought 4 of them for her kids, 4 babies from another table. And she was like, I don't want to alarm you, but I have a question. I just bought these 4. This table over here told me that they're going to get this big. You are saying that species in that tank is babies to that? And I was like, yeah, that's mom to these babies, and what you're holding is the same species. And another table to make a sale told them that it was going to stay small.
Yep.
And I was like, no, I told her, I was like, if you are not prepared for something this big, walk right back over to that table and go get your money back. I was like, you tell them that you want your money back. I was like, if you want something small, I have leopard tortoises. Now, they don't get gigantic, but they don't stay tiny.
They can get bigger.
That's what I was like. They can get big, but they don't get gigantic like a sulcata. I was like, so because I was like, cicadas are the third largest species in the world. Like I went through the whole spiel. I was like, this is something that's going to get up to 200 pounds. This is not even a full grown female. I have males that will like, knock her over because they're so big.
Right.
And she was like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing that. So she ended up taking it back over there and got her money back. And the dude was so pissed. He kept eyeballing me the whole time.
There's so many other species out there that are good, like Hermans and Greeks and Russians.
Yeah,
like they stay a lot smaller.
Brian had Russians. He had tiny little baby Russians. And so I told him, like, hey, you want 4 tortoises? You want something that stays tiny, tiny? Russian. Saying gets about the size of my hand, if that. I was like, and the price on this thing, I told no, she looked right at the Russians. He's like, hey, you take all 4, I'll make you a deal. And she took all 4. And so we hooked her up. And she got, the kids were happy because they got little tortoises. And, she was happy because it's not going to be something that gets, ginormous and have 4 giant walking boulders. And like I even showed her, I was like, hey, like here's a picture of a Russian. This is how big it gets. This is compared to somebody's hand. Like you can see this, it's that much different. I was like, now if you look at this, you look at that behemoth there that's going to Kool-Aid man through the wall. And so it was crazy watching that, like at the show, like her just openly like, okay, he told me that this gets this big.
It happens all the time, man. Like I've gone to these shows since I was younger, and I've talked kids out of sales. Like I remember this kid going up to this guy from Oregon, and this guy from Oregon had all these. He was a wholesaler. He probably bred a lot of stuff too, and he was trying to sell this green anaconda to this 15-year-old kid and his mom. And I just look at him and I say, what do you know about this snake? Oh, I just what this guy's telling me right now. And I said, he's not telling you everything. And the seller was like, get the hell out of here. And I said, no, man. I said, you can't just sell the species to kids like this. Like, this is going to mess it up for everybody. Like, this is serious. This is an animal. This animal can get huge. Well, you're going to be able to deal with a snake that can get over 200 pounds? Like, don't even worry about the length. Like, the girth alone, that's heavy. What are you going to keep it in? All right, Mel, what's the last question?
No, you're good. No, she's going to bed. She's good. She's going to bed. She's just telling me she's got to get up at 4 a.m. to head out for work. So she goes to bed a little earlier because it's 9 o'clock here.
No, I hear you.
So she goes to bed early. So my last question, but before I asked it, I appreciate that you do that because there's, like I said, it messes it up for everybody. If that kid was to have bought that animal, you potentially, I don't want to say you potentially saved this kid's life, but at the end of the day, that is a huge animal for a 15-year-old. That is something within a few years.
I was more worried about the snake, bro.
Would have been. I know, but I'm just saying, like,
the kid would have been fine.
Save this animal going out, like being mistreated. You save this, or the kid getting hurt because it went 15 years old. I mean, say he has that thing for a year or two. You're looking at something that's already 6+ feet, or something that could easily overpower a small child. And if he's mistreating it and not taking care of it right, that's going to be a mean fucking snake.
Yeah, it's going to be a monster.
That's going to be a mean snake. And so, it's either going to be released out because they can't find it or get rid of it, or they just want it gone. At the end of the day, the animal did better by not going to somebody unknowledge, or that didn't know anything about it.
Right.
But then on top of that, you also in return help that kid because it could have been potentially dangerous for him to think, hey, this is a small animal. And now a year later, you're looking at something that was this big and now it is 6 foot.
Yeah. Well, that guy also doesn't sell reptiles anymore. So
that's
a win-win.
Yeah. That's a win. Yeah. That's a win-win. Yeah.
Well, we're pretty tight-knit niche community up here in the Pacific Northwest. So if you're in, like, I've known the show promoters and everything since before he did it, like that guy wouldn't even let me pay to come into a show. He's just like, unless I'm vending, he's just like, dude, don't you ever, he's like, just talk to me. Like we're all close up here and we don't like that shit. We like the other show I went to a couple weekends ago up here in Puyallup, Washington, and there's someone walking around like, did you see that person with mites on their table? But that's just how it is. Like they took care of it before the show even started, like get that out of here. Like they weren't mean. They're just like, hey, respectfully, this is a situation. We need you to do something about this. Get these animals off the table.
Yep. No, we that happened out in Pomona too. There was a couple vendors out there, and there was one dude that legitimately thought it was okay, and I let the promoter know. I was like, hey, this is what's going on. You might want to go talk to this guy. Yeah. I was like, because I brought it up to the guy, and I was like, hey, that's got mites on. He's like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. It's fine. I had one guy. It was in an Arizona expo last year selling. Dude was legitimately selling what was it? Lychees with mites, and he tried to tell me that lychees, like they were imported lychees with mites, and he goes, they get him in the wild, and so it's natural for them to have it. It's healthy, blah blah blah. I was like, that's not healthy. They're not supposed to have. You're not supposed to do that, guy. And legitimately, like I got in a whole argument with the guy because he thought it was okay. He legit thought it was like he was 100% thinking it was okay. So I got the promoter. I was like, hey, I'm leaving. You do whatever you want to do with your guy, but that is one of your vendors that you brought out from another state, and that you denied local vendors to have this guy here, and this is what you brought in. And so he went, he looked, and he ended up like getting into it with the guy because he was politely asking him, like, hey, just pull those off, put something else on, put those off. Yeah. And so the dude lost his mind. He went off on him, and so he got banned from that expo, and was told to literally leave in the middle of the expo. Like he was like, just go.
Yep.
And dude, it was nuts.
I mean, we have to have standards, though. Like
100%.
That's gonna make Rami or whoever that guy is down there that does the shows. Like it's gonna make him look
Rami
bad
runs the Reptile Super Show. Shout out Reptile Super Show. No, but in Arizona, it's Drew and another guy.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, whoever these show promoters are, like they can't have that stuff there because it's going to be a bad name for them. Like I remember one year, like Triple L came up here, and I don't have a problem with Triple L. Like most of those guys are pretty chill guys. There's some bad apples, and one year they had a problem where a whole box of animals died. Right? You know how they get the long boxes full of animals to the styrofoam box, and they threw the whole box in the trash at the show with the middle of everyone walking by. Oh, dude, Triple L got ran through the mud for that. I understand what they were trying to do. They were just trying to keep business going, but like there's other ways to go about that. They were told it was correct. Like, there was apologies. Like it was a big thing up here. Like, Triple L is not a bad company, but it's just, and he wasn't, the owner wasn't up here. It was his, employees or whatever. So it's just, business is tough like that.
When you run a chain store like that, you can't be at all places at all times. And, at the end of the day, some of the employees, that's exactly what they are. They're employees that, some of them may not even know anything about reptiles, but they're still, it's just a job to them type thing, And so you can never, when it comes to like chain stores, like Triple L, each store is different. I mean, I went to a few of them in Cali, and some were fantastic, and the other ones there was dead animals on display, and I'm like, dude, what? Like it was night and day difference. And it's all about who's working there and who takes pride in having them working with the animals, as to where somebody that's just clocking in to clock out type thing,
Right, exactly.
And that's why I always tell everybody, either support local breeders, or if you're going to support stores, support the mom and pop stores, like JTK Reptiles out there in California. That dude literally lives at his shop.
I mean, sometimes it is what it is, like he's passionate, he's trying to make the dream work, and people don't realize how much of a struggle it is to run your own business, like making enough income to keep the animals maintained as well as make a profit so that you can actually survive and then pay all your taxes and then pay for more things going forward. That's incredibly hard, and most people can't do that, you know.
Yeah.
So kudos for you for
No,
keeping
100%.
that going. That's not easy.
Oh, it's a struggle, man. If you're not passionate about it, you're not gonna last long trying to do it. I tell you that. You know, I've had so many hardships in this. If I wasn't passionate about working with these animals and keeping them, I don't think a sane person that's like, hey, if I'm just in this for the money, there's so much more money I'm losing than anything else. They would have gotten out a long time ago. But my phone is at 11%, so I'm down to my last question anyway. Even though it's on the charger while we're on here, it still kills my phone for some reason.
And mine too. Yeah.
So my last one, I think it's StreamYard. StreamYard just it drains the battery life, I swear. And then if you touch your phone, I bet you it's super hot too.
Well, yeah, I'm actually not using my phone this time. I'm using the computer, but every time I use my phone, it's the same way. I have problems like connecting to the earbuds. That's what, and it's everything.
Yeah,
StreamYard sucks, but it's the only thing we have, really, Yeah. Yeah. It's like FedEx shipping, right?
Yes, right. For real. It's either it's really good or it's really not.
Because we need them.
We need them. Shout out to FedEx. Super reptiles, appreciate you.
Oh yeah.
So how can my followers find you?
Instagram. If you guys go over to Instagram and type in my name, I'm on Instagram as Randall Pegues with 2 L's, RandallPegues. That's for my middle initial Lamar. So Randall Pegues. Go on my Instagram, check me out there. You can find me on Facebook, but unless like we've talked, like our family or friends, I usually don't add those people right away. Sometimes I will. It just depends. Like if I see you have a whole bunch of Amazons on your Facebook, might add you. If I see you're a reptile person, maybe. But I don't do TikTok. I did YouTube like back in 2008 or whatever. I don't do YouTube anymore.
Gotta do YouTube, man. You're making breakthroughs over there with them boas, man. I'd love to see some videos on it.
If I were to go like full time or something, that's fine. But I have a painting company and I also have the construction company that I co-own with my business partners. So and then the kids playing sports, and this is baseball season and soccer season right now. Wrestling season just finished, so things are getting wild.
I get it.
Only so much time in the day.
No, for sure. Yeah, that's why I'm a night owl. I deal with the kids all day and then reptiles all night, or vice versa, depending on where they're at.
Yep, I'm in here until I can't handle it anymore, and then I crash out and wake up at 5:30 again.
Yep, that's about how it goes. But I appreciate you jumping on and sharing your passion with us. I learned a lot. I hope to see some pretty cool animals come from you here soon. I myself, I'm going to be doing a lot of research from all that I learned tonight, especially on that new boa. That new boa. I want to learn. I want to know. Yeah, I want to know. I need to look into
CROPANI. So you'll see some pictures of it.
Yeah,
there's like a recent sighting too a little while ago. So
for sure, I'm gonna have to look it up. But I appreciate everybody in the chat that stuck with us. You guys, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to do all this. And for you jumping on and sharing your passion means a lot. I learned a lot. So I appreciate your time, and for sure I'll be hitting you up to talk a little bit more about certain things.
Anytime, buddy. Anytime.
Right on. I appreciate you. Well, all right, guys. Stay tuned for the next one. We'll be live again on Tuesday with a new special guest. So make sure to check out our Instagram. I will have his link in the description below after this video. So that way for anybody that rewatches this, or if you guys want to check back and you can't find him on Instagram, his Instagram link will be down in the description down below. But Until next time, guys, I'll catch you all on the next one.
Peace.